Please stand. We'll begin with the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Leary.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Milanazzo.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Samaras.
Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. If there's no objection, before we begin, the chair would entertain a motion to suspend the rules in order to take items 3.2 and 4.1 out of order.
So moved.
Okay. Hearing no objection, we'll just suspend the rules by general consent and begin with 3.2, which is a vote declaring surplus 229 Powell Street and a portion of 1254 Bonham Avenue. We'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading, declaring surplus properties located at 229 Powell Street and a portion of 1254 Bonham Avenue, Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the disposition of said parcels, namely 229 Powell Street and a portion of 1254 Bonham Avenue in Lowell. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Council Mercy, second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Roll call. Council Elliott.
Well, I just had a question. What the purpose of the of this motion is, Mr. Manager, why we declaring both of these surpluses?
Excellent question. This is like the perfect storm of organizations needing real estate, and this is going to hopefully affect a great resolution. First of all, the Elks came to us several years ago. They want to downsize from their current facility at Old Ferry Road, and they've been working with us to locate an alternate site for there. At the same time, we've also had people express interest in the Laura Lee School for a commercial venture right across from Walgreens. And then the school department approached us, and what they're looking to do is they're looking to acquire real estate in the city of Lowell to bring their out-of-state special ed students back in to the city and have their own staff educate those children. It's going to save significant amount of money. So what we're doing is we've been able to take a parcel out on Varnum Ave near the water department, and which is satisfactory to the Elks, and we're asking to declare that lot surplus so that we can sell that to the Elks so they can downsize. They will sell us their facility at Old Ferry Road to house the new special education center, and we will sell the Laura Lee School to the commercial venture, and we're hoping that all of those different RFPs will pay for the real estate that we need to help out the school department.
Okay, and I know that will save significant money for the school department, which is a good thing. Has the neighborhood organization been notified of,
Yes.
of these transactions? They have, so, and that's good. So I think it makes sense. And it's RFP, this has to go out for bid anyway, or is, okay. All right, thank you. I think that's helpful, and it's good to know. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, roll call.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milanazzo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
And the next item 4.1, is a motion by Council Elliott, Council Leary, and Council Samaras. Request that the City Council vote to appoint an ad hoc subcommittee to discuss the process of amending the city charter to review and consider adopting a district-at-large council representation form of government, and then to make the recommendations to the full council. The motion needs no second. Is there any discussion on the motion, Council Elliott?
Well, the motion does speak for itself, but in light of the federal the lawsuit that has been filed against the city. We thought it was appropriate to have a discussion and set up an ad hoc subcommittee to see how we can resolve this. I don't know if the solicitor wants to weigh in any more at this point, but I think it's important that we proceed in this manner. The city has been moving in this direction. We've had discussions. I've had discussions with the law department with this, so that's why we filed the motion. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Council Leary.
No, I just echo what Councilor Elliott articulated. Really, at this point, there is a federal suit pending, but it is something that all three of us wanted to bring before the council to have a weigh, and I think we should have a discussion. I think having probably the appropriate venue would be to have an ad hoc subcommittee. We did it earlier in the year regarding that discussion, and hopefully from there we can make some recommendations or decisions going forward, or not. But I think it's the appropriate venue to begin that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. No, this is the right direction to go in, but in light of the lawsuit, I'd just soon wait till you as mayor set up the ad hoc committee, and then we'll go from there. But it's the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next, returning to 2.1 on the agenda then, is the communication from the city manager relative to the school building committee recommendation vote relative to the preferred site for Lowell High School. Mr. Manager.
Yes, the school building committee met this morning, and there were 18 members present. 2 were participating by remote participation. There were numerous questions asked of our representatives. The discussion took place. The meeting took probably just under 2 hours to conclude, and then a roll call was taken, and the results of the roll call were 9 in favor of option 3 and 9 in favor of the Colley 5-story option.
So the chair would entertain a motion to accept the communication from the city manager, place it on file by Council Milonazo, second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. And next is the vote on the, to approve a preferred site for Lowell High School. We have 71 people who registered to speak. I think some of them dropped out. We still have about 66 people to speak, which will begin in a minute. The council rule is that there would be 5 minutes per speaker. And so are we ready to proceed? Okay, the chair would announce that we do have translators in Spanish and Khmer, and so if those people who are ready to speak that speak in those languages should probably come first. Seeing nobody coming forward. Is there anybody coming forward on that? Is there anybody out in the hall? Okay, so let's just begin with this.
Your Honor,
Yes,
so are we going to stick with 5 minutes, 3 minutes? What's,
well, if the council would like to make a motion to reduce the 5 minutes to a shorter time, such as 3 minutes, then the council would have to do that. It's the council rule that says 5 minutes, so councilors would have to change the
so
rule.
with so many speakers, do we want to drop it down a few minutes? Yes, no?
Well, maybe what we can do, Mr. Mayor, or to Council A, maybe we can suggest maybe speakers limit till 3 minutes, and knowing that there is a rule to 5.
I can
Yeah.
help translate for the Cambodian.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we're sticking with 5. Council Milonazo?
Just a question procedurally. There's actually no written vote in front of us, correct?
That's right.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
So it'll just be, whatever we decide after we hear from the speakers, okay?
Yes.
No official vote, okay, thank you.
Okay, let's get rolling. First speaker.
Lisa Shanahan.
Tomorrow morning.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Shanahan, and I live at 312 Methuen Street. I am a mother of 4 boys, 2 who have already graduated from Lowell High School, 2016 and 2012. I have an incoming 9th grader and also a soon-to-be 6th grader. I truly believe that the clear choice is Colley. Colley is the only location that offers both a brand-new high school and the hope of the redevelopment of our downtown. Choosing Collie means choosing a safe, disruption-free learning environment for our children. Choosing Collie means that the students of all abilities will have equal access to all areas of the school building. Collie is best for our city, and Collie is best for our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil Connors.
Phil Connors.
Bill Connors, 32 Arcadia Ave. Thank you for having me. I come here tonight as an LHS alum, Lowell teacher, and concerned parent of 2 young children ages 5 and 3. In forming my opinion that Collie is our best option, I tried to look at real-life examples from different experiences I've had. I coached basketball at Tewksbury from 2011 to 2016. I've seen firsthand the positive effect a new state-of-the-art high school can have in a community, and I desperately want it for all the children of Lowell. My first year at Tewksbury was in their old building. It was dilapidated, leaky, and quite frankly, a poor learning environment. When you walked through the building, you felt the general malaise of the students and staff. Kids deserve better, and in 2012, they got it with a brand new building that is simply breathtaking. The overall climate of that school and the mood of the students completely changed. You could see the pride the students, staff, and community had in their new high school. Now I compare this to Drake High School, which during that same time Tewksbury built new, they renovated their old building. Don't get me wrong, Drake High School is adequate. It's an improvement from their old building, but it simply pales in comparison to Tewksbury High School. I would challenge anyone to walk through both buildings, then honestly answer the question, which school environment would I want my children in for their 4 years of high school? I think the answer would be resoundingly in favor of the building at Tewksbury. As far as cost, Tewksbury spent $68 million and Drake had spent $60 million with a 60% reimbursement rate. Though Tewksbury taxpayers paid slightly more, I can comfortably state they got far more in terms of value for their tax dollar than did Drake taxpayers. Again, not that Drake isn't a nice school building. It's nice, it's okay, but okay isn't good enough. And if we're gonna spend this type of money, we need to make sure we do it right. We get one chance at this. I keep hearing that downtown is the fiscally responsible choice. I just think this is somewhat short-sighted. Granted, the extra infrastructure costs and busing will cost taxpayers more, even though I feel we should be busing students regardless of the location of the high school. It's actually a case of inequity that we don't bust them now, that flies in the face of the option 3 access argument. Nevertheless, with those costs factored in, it's an extra $100 per year on the average tax bill. But that's if the downtown location doesn't have any unforeseen costs, and that's a big if. I can think of 4 highly expensive scenarios if downtown is chosen. First, operating costs from running one state-of-the-art building as opposed to operating 3 buildings, 2 of which are dated. Collie will be far less expensive in that respect. Secondly, I know the figures for remediation came back lower than expected, but in talking with reputable building professionals, they think these costs are underestimated, and it's inevitable that overruns will run higher than projections. Thirdly, a decline in enrollment if downtown is chosen. Make no mistake, this will happen. Experts have stated it could be upwards of 300 to 500 students. People are truly passionate about this and will seek different options if they have the means to do so. I've heard this as Collie supporters taking their ball and going home. I'd argue it's simply parents doing what they feel is best for their children. From being a product of the Lowell Public Schools and teaching here, I couldn't be a bigger advocate for our schools, but I could never begrudge a parent for not wanting their child put through a renovation. At $13,500 per student, this figure adds up quickly. In contrast to this decline, I think we'll see a spike in enrollment with prospective students drawn to the new campus-style school. Lastly, and to me most importantly, is the issue of a lacking or a failed renovation. Through this process, I've heard Winchester High touted again and again as a building that's the perfect example how you can successfully renovate while the students are in the building. It occurred to me the other day that through coaching, I have a colleague that works in Winchester High. I reached out and asked him his opinion on our situation in Lowell, saying that he's actually lived it. I can't say I was surprised with his reply. In short, the email encompasses all my worries and fears about a renovation. Phrases like touch-ups, untouched spaces, modulars, disruption to learning, unfinished, and nothing new are interspersed throughout the response. He finished it with, I quote, "I think a new building would have been much better, but we just don't have the space." Luckily, we have the space. We spent $40 million in the 90s, and in less than 10 years, the same problems we supposedly fixed were happening again. Do we just blindly trust that this will be the renovation that will work? I'm skeptical to say the least. In closing, I just want to read a couple excerpts from an article that appeared in the Lowell Sun in July of 2012 of the new Tewksbury High School. To take a tour through the soon-to-be unveiled Tewksbury Memorial High School is to truly forget you're in a high school at times. Walk across the terrazzo staircases, peer through the panoramic windows of art studios and greenhouses, bask in the sunlight spilling across students' desks. But that's only a few of the wealth of impressive features and amenities that a sneak peek of the facility revealed. Many would make a visitor's jaw drop and other school districts green with envy. The article goes on to further rave about Tewksbury High. This could be us, but on a larger scale. I get excited thinking about the jolt it will give our city. My kids deserve this. The kids I teach every day deserve this. The children of the Acres, Centerville, Belvedere, Highlands, and South Lowell all deserve this. And if the price to pay is some traffic or paying for buses, I feel it's a small price to pay. I implore you 9 councilors to do what is right, because this vote will shape Lowell for the next 50 years. Vote Colley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hans Stutz.
Hello, Hans Stutz, 8 Hawthorne Street. When this process started a couple of years ago at Lowell High, I was very excited about the promise of a new school one way or the other. At the beginning of the process, it seemed apparent that we didn't have multiple choices, even though we were told we did. As the process went on and we got more information, it seemed pretty clear to me that the new construction option was obviously the best option. Yet, somehow, the agenda for the downtown site was continuously being pushed. I didn't quite understand this. I just wanted what was best for the kids of Lowell, what would give them a best opportunity to become productive members of society in the future. And when I looked at the two options between option 3 and the Colley option, I see the Colley option as clearly the best choice. Access for special ed kids, the science labs being new and updated and working. And I know that we're promised that that'll happen on the option 3, but as Mr. Samaras pointed out in the past, we've renovated before, and it didn't work out as planned. And we can't afford to get burned again. We have one shot to get this right over 50 years. I see a sign about plants and salamanders and whatever else. That's unacceptable somehow, but putting our kids in a building filled with asbestos isn't? This is puzzling to me. I don't understand that. I think what really should be unacceptable is disrupting the learning of all of our kids for that, who knows, 6 to 8 year period, 4.5 to 6, whatever you want to call it. None of it seems acceptable to me. I hope that this council will seriously consider all that, the kids that will have to leave in case option 3 is chosen. I hope that's not the case. I hope that you guys make a wise choice and go with Colley. And on the positive side, I really feel for this council where you guys have been put through a meat grinder, and you know, I think on the positive side, when this thing's all over with, the kids of Lowell are going to get a new school, and that's a good thing. And at some point, we do need to revisit the positives of this situation, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Olet. Scott Olet.
Little slow for a track guy. Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor, the manager, and the rest of the council for the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Scott Willett. I live at 61 Knob Way. That's in Belvedere. I'm a teacher at Lowell High School, and I am in full support of the Colley location. I really want to start off my comments tonight by welcoming back Mr. Samaras and say, Mr. Samaras, I know everybody wishes you the best, and 17 years ago you took a chance on me and hired me, so I'll always be grateful for that, so thank you. I saw Miss Littlefield in the hall earlier. She was editing my paper for me, so there's a little bit of red ink here. My remarks tonight will be brief. I believe that all of really what needs to be said has been said, analyzed, discussed, and that the council is ready to vote. But I am here to stand up for Cawley and all of the opportunities that it can provide for our city and for our kids. It's time, in my opinion, to move on from the downtown buildings. During my time at the high school, both as a student, a substitute teacher, and now a teacher, I've really been able to witness up close the deterioration of those buildings. How, as ex-mayor Bud Caulfield said, we've thrown good money after bad at historic sums. And I really couldn't agree with him even more. Okay, I ask really, when does it end? Why would we even consider putting ourselves through this again? As part of my job as a coach at the high school, I really have this great, unique opportunity where we get to travel around the state for all of these meets and events and things like that. And I get to see up close all kinds of schools, the communities that they have, and really inside the schools too. You know, I get friendly with the other coaches, and every once in a while I'll ask for a tour, especially if they have a new building, and just to see what that's like. It's amazing. And I always wonder and even dreamed, why can't we have this? Imagine one day we could have that. Well, today, really, this day is for us, and we can have that. Tonight, we can make it happen. I urge the council, yes for Cawley tonight. After tonight, what I would really like to see is that the entire city really comes together and make this choice the best that it can be. On our team at school, we give out a lot of t-shirts, but I have tonight one of my favorite t-shirts that we give out. And on the front, it has the word Lowell on it, but the we, the W-E in Lowell, is highlighted in different colors to symbolize we. And on the back of the shirt is really my favorite slogan, and the kids love this shirt. It says, there is no I in Lowell, but there is a we. And tonight, I really hope that we rally behind the council's decision, okay? I say that it is time to vote. Remember, there is no I in Lowell, but there is a we. Yes for Cawley. Thank you.
Anastasia Sakalaris. Anastasia Sakalaris.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Sakalaris, and I live at 29 Norcross Street. Dear Mr. Manager, City Management Team, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council, please know that the move to Cawley will hurt the library big time. So it's gonna hurt the library big time, so please keep this in mind when you make your decision. Regarding Cawley, why spend our hard-earned tax dollars for decades to come for school buses, add all that traffic and pollution when we don't have to? You say you're thinking about the high school students, but what about the parents of these students who are struggling to make ends meet, but they have to now pay more taxes for school buses when their child could just as easily walked or taken an LRTA bus, saving their household much needed income? Yes, other communities. Oh. I don't want it to run over 5 minutes, though. Hold on. Hold the applause till after, because I don't want to run after 5 minutes. Yes, other communities have school buses for their high school students, but they are not as lucky as Lowell is to have an efficient city bus system like the LRTA or such a walkable city as we do. Why do we feel we're depriving our students by keeping them in an old building? Before you write off that 1922 building as being over the hill, I will remind you that this evening we are seated in a building that is 30 years older than that building. And I am guessing that not many people here tonight feel deprived because we're not meeting in a modern building, or feel that, gee, the city would run so much better if we only had a brand new city hall. A building should meet 4 criteria. It should be clean, safe, handicapped accessible, and properly designed for its purpose. If it meets these 4 requirements, it doesn't matter one iota if it's old or new. If we can transform an old city barn that once held horses into a state-of-the-art senior center, then we can transform the old high school into a state-of-the-art high school. I keep hearing that the Colley site is great because there will be new construction. But here's what the downtown location has to offer. Healthier kids, because more will be walking to school. Easy access to students for after-school jobs, the library, the Boys and Girls Clubs, Girls Inc., the Career Center. And after these activities, they can hop on an LRTA bus and go home. More money in our pockets because we don't have to pay for their bus rides. I would like to address 3 concerns that people have. 1, that the students and staff will be exposed to hazardous conditions during renovation. This is 2017, and there are strict laws to prevent this. And remember, we're not hiring hacks to do the job, are we? We are hiring a reputable company to do the job, and no reputable company will allow this to happen. 2, that the 1922 building can never be as good as new construction. With that price tag, it can. Take a look at the recently renovated library. Could we ever have built a new library that could ever be as good as that? Evidence that old charm and new technology can exist under the same roof. 3, that we could better develop business downtown if the high school moves. As if a high school and a thriving business district cannot occupy the same area. It did, though, in this city for many decades. Years ago, this city made 2 huge mistakes, which it has lived to regret and may never live down. It tore down the historic Butler Building, Butler Mansion, and, oh, cringe. Doesn't this just break your heart, ladies and gentlemen? They tore down the original Mill Girls boarding houses. I can't believe it, the boarding houses. Our history, our precious history. Why did they do this? Because they worshiped a false idol. They worshiped the false idol called new construction. As you sit this evening about to make another momentous historical decision, you need to ask, are we about to make the same mistake? I hope not. And the city is divided. This is a suggestion. Perhaps at this point, the best thing would do to put it on the ballot. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madeline Leahy. Madeline Leahy.
Hello, my name is Madeline Leahy. I'm from 87 Glenwood Street, Lowell, Massachusetts, Belvedere. I understand that this is an enormous decision and that there are many strong opinions on both sides of this argument. Whether you're a student who will be attending the new school, a parent of the student, whether you've already gone to Lowell High, whether you're a staff member or a counselor or a teacher, or whether you just simply live in the city of Lowell. This decision is tremendous and will impact our city for years to come. Yet I feel as though in this debate we have lost sight of why we're doing this. This is for our students who are our future. This is for our students who are going to be the leaders of our city one day, and they deserve the absolute best education we can possibly give them. Which is why I believe that Lowell High should stay downtown. Although a brand new school sounds very appealing, as stated before, there is great charm in an old building, and there is great history within that building. Not only that, the current location of Lowell High holds many resources, as stated before, such as the library and Girls Inc. and the Boys and Girls Club, which at Colley, students who use those resources to get through every single day would not have anymore. Not only that, as we've seen through research, although it was directed towards Lowell High being located in downtown currently, we do see that businesses, small businesses that we love and that are the backbone of our economy would fail. And that hurts the people of our city. This move would also hurt taxpayers. We have to remember that there's already a 10% tax raise with the construction either way. But moving to Colley would increase this excessively. We do not have the infrastructure to allow for our city to gain more money from the state. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. We would have to cut jobs and pay from teachers, firefighters, policemen, and more, and that's not right. Colley also creates unequal transportation. And as we know, attendance is critical, and that is already a failing problem at Lowell High. With the current location of Lowell High being in a 1 mile radius of every neighborhood, moving to Colley would create a huge problem. We do not have the money in taxpayers to get busing. We would not be able to reroute the city buses. We can't afford it. We also have a unique city in front of us that has a beautiful urban culture. Moving this beautiful, beautiful Lowell High down to a neighborhood that, I'm sorry to say, is upper class and primarily white, would take away from what we have. We are more than that. We are diverse, we are beautiful, we are all races and genders, and that is not shown down in Belvedere. We are an amazing city. Our students deserve the best. Our local businesses deserve the best. Our firefighters, teachers, policemen deserve the best. And I urge you today to make the best decision for the city, which would be Lowell High downtown.
Thank you.
Peter Martin. Peter Martin.
Peter Martin.
Sorry, it's a long way from the overflow room. There's a serious delay back there. Actually, real quick before I start, I was just introduced on the way by, but Sam from Milan Pizza is here. He didn't register to speak, but like a lot of people, he's pretty livid that you're going to sneak by eminent domain on Milan Pizza, just like Alexis and all the rest. So I don't know if you can add him to the list, but it would be a nice person to hear from on an issue as big as this. So. Earlier this week, Richard Howe published a blog post about this process where he noted that this is the most divisive issue in his 50 years of following city politics. He also hit at the heart of the debate, and I can't say it better than him. I quote, "Lowell has an identity crisis. A lot of people who live here want Lowell to be more like a suburb, but we are a city and we always have been one. We'll never out-suburb the suburbs. The city succeeds by embracing its identity as a city," end quote. As usual, I couldn't agree more with Mr. Howe, one of the brightest people in the city. I'd even go a step further and say that this is an existential decision for this city, the biggest since we were named an urban national park 50 years ago by some of our finest leaders. The future of Lowell is on a knife's edge. You as counselors are ostensibly voting on one piece of the educational puzzle, a site. But the ripple effect of that choice is enormous because you can't rip the high school out of the heart of the city without fundamentally changing who we are as a city. As part of the national park debate, Patrick Mogan noted just how important embracing the city would be for public education in Lowell, going so far as to estimate that the building itself was only 20% of the equation, and the lion's share was dictated by community, neighborhood, family, and peers. He viewed the downtown as a vital extension to the education of Lowell's children, and many of us agree. It's been pointed out in this chamber that the downtown is also a neighborhood, and I agree with that statement. Downtown is a neighborhood, and it is the most important neighborhood. It is the neighborhood we all share as Lowellians, the neighborhood that makes Lowell a place, and not just a city, a home, not just a place to drive in and out of. If the downtown fails, so will the city. For me and many others, Lowell High School, founded in 1831, 5 years after the city itself, is the bedrock of that sense of place. The first day at school at Lowell High School is the first time many of us become a daily part of this city, become more than kids from our little neighborhoods. You step foot on that central urban campus, one of the most ethnically and economically diverse schools in the country, the first co-ed high school in America, a building where Jack Kerouac took his first steps as a writer, fell deeply in love with a city that ultimately frustrated and enthralled him. And you know for the first time in your life that you're part of this community, that so many people have worked so hard to build here. When I hear you talk about using that shared resource to attract new market rate tenants or calling the high school a prime real estate opportunity, which I heard this morning, what I see is short-term thinking that ignores the fact that every new crop of students equates to hundreds of kids who are baptized into the Lowell community and exposed to the downtown economy. And these are real Lowell kids. They're not the so-called right kind of people that so many people want to cater to. Community. I define community as the intersection of place and identity. It is the hardest thing in the world for a city to nurture and promote, and it is Lowell's greatest resource. We are strongest when we embrace the community, when we embrace the things which make us unique, when we renew and build on our history. Some of you look to the Draycotts and Tewksburys of the world and ask, why can't we have a school like that? And to that I would answer that you clearly can. You can build a cookie-cutter high school that looks like everyone else. You can create an inequitable situation where Belvedere kids walk to high school and everyone else has to commute up to an hour or more a day. You can ignore the city's master plan and a path that was laid out by Paul Tsongas, Patrick Mogan, and so many others. You can be a politician and not a leader. And these are the easy choices. Long-term vision and planning are much harder. Supporting a unique, equitable central location that benefits all the students is harder. Embracing those things that make us unique instead of trying to be something we are not is harder. But the payoff is much greater, and this is the path to an equitable education, a sustainable economy, and a Lowell that is truly unique, alive, and inspiring. In closing, I would also agree with many counselors have said in recent days, this is the most divisive issue in Lowell history. When you add in that it will be the largest financial decision of the next 10 to 20 years, that a diverse city represented by an all-white city council is already facing a pending discrimination lawsuit, that the school building committee ended months of deliberations deadlocked in a 9-9 tie, which if that was in a movie script, you'd be thrown out of the building. And that wild allegations of vote tampering are flying around, who knows? It's my belief there's only one path forward. You have to put this question on the ballot. Something I didn't believe earlier. You have to do it. You have to let the voters of Lowell decide. This is the biggest issue of our entire lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
DeLuca. George DeLuca.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
when he says what he says, it's like awful. Like you should just repeat it because we can hear
George
it.
DeLuca.
There it is.
Go ahead, George.
George DeLuca, 463 Merrimack Street. Honorable Mayor, City Council, fellow citizens. Check, 1, 2. You'll notice that the signs LHS Yes for Collie don't identify the bearers as parents of children affected by the decision you're about to make tonight. But that's who they are. They're the parents of the affected children and their supporters. I'm one of those supporters. But I'm here tonight to speak to a broader range of issues. We need a new high school in Lowell, and we need a solid vision for economic development. Moving the high school to the Colley site will allow the city to achieve both objectives, while clearing a major logjam that prevents economic growth. UMass Lowell abuts the high school at the Songa Center. On the other side of the high school is downtown proper, Merrimack Street and Market Street. On the other side of downtown proper is the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. These four segments of downtown are shielded from each other and do not interconnect or help each other in any significant way. In effect, they're isolated operations that stagnate growth in downtown Lowell. To improve flow and circulation, extract the high school operation from downtown and relocate it to the Colley site. Then expand the Hamilton Canal Innovation District to include the vacated high school property. UMass Lowell will then have a physical connection to the Hamilton Canal Innovation District at Arcan Drive, facilitating the creation of one unified concept for downtown and solving the incompatibility problem. This operation will permit a natural flow between UMass Lowell and the expanded enterprise zone that will extend to and include downtown proper via Lucy Larkham Park and then along the Merrimack Canal to Hamilton Canal. This new flow pattern will lead to the revitalization of the entire downtown while offering new and expanded amenities for all to enjoy as we render support for incubating business enterprises and make room for their spin-off manufacturing operations. I believe the high school should be built at Colley so downtown Lowell can enter a phase of revitalization and deliver a renewed vitality not experienced in the Mill City since the 1960s. This dynamic change will lead to rising property values across the city, growth of the tax base, and creation of jobs made possible by the education and training programs offered by Middlesex Community College and UMass Lowell. Downtown growth and the proposed revitalization will benefit the entire city. The new high school at Colley and the expanded Hamilton Canal Innovation District will fuel these advances and help make Lowell a desired community for workers, visitors, students, residents, and business owners. The high school must be moved to provide the ideal educational environment for the students and the opportunity to revitalize downtown, fueled by an expanded Hamilton Canal Innovation District, including the vacated high school property. In closing, we need a new high school, but we also need economic development, rising property values, and a flourishing tax base, which will only be possible if we move the high school, expand the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, and revitalize downtown. We have an opportunity to unify the city, and we need your leadership to make this happen. Make this decision the beginning of an exciting new era for all Lowellians. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Peters. James Peters.
James Peters.
It seems to me that we forget how great it was to have the high school downtown. I remember funny stories about my famous brother-in-law, who was Paul Songas, and his time in the downtown area while working driving his father's laundry trucks. We all have memories of the downtown area that stay with us and that are often funny. Lowell High School was known for its educational reach and its fantastic downtown location. It supplied us with stories and things like the 1971 state champions in football. We all remember that day. I remember going into Brigham's, which was where the best of the high school hung out after school, and being escorted out of it by a couple of friends. I wasn't cool enough to be there. So I went with Mike Damaris and Mike Tokolowski to the pizza store down the street, and that became the place to be, we thought. Next door was Blake's, which was an ice cream store for other people. I remember doing a project for Miss Sullivan, the English teacher. She was the first person to tell me I was a good writer because I used semicolons correctly. It was great praise, and I was the only one in the entire class who had used the one in the story. I went out to the stationery store down the street to buy a poster board. I did a project that artistically was beyond me, and I did it well. because of good education. There was a Fanny Farmer's candy shop, there was a Kresge's department store, a Woolworth's department store, and the first consumer values store in the nation. We now know that as CVS. Yes, that CVS. It started in downtown Lowell. There were clothing stores, pharmacies like McCord's, and plenty of places to eat. Downtown was the place to be, especially if you wanted to impress the girls. I spent my afternoons reading histories on Lowell. They hadn't put old newspapers on microfilm yet, and I looked up in the Courier-Citizen the exact day of Lincoln's death, which was April 15, 1865, and read in the newspaper on my lap about the events of that day. It was front-page news. I found an invoice from the Locks and Canals Corporation that stated that the granite which came from the building of the canals would be sold to the mill owners for construction of a new Anglican church called St. Anne's. The mill owners placed a great deal of time in that church. Later, I told the National Park Service about the invoice, but they said there was no invoice. I got a little heated and told them to look in the library's reference area. They did, and 20 years after I read it to them, they told visitors that the church had been built with canal stone. I knew that in 1969. George Harris, according to his biographer, used to bring girls to Page's and spend a nickel on their Coca-Cola and his Coke. One day, a girl spent 20 cents of his by ordering an ice cream soda. He used his last 20 cents and never dated that girl again, according to his biographer. There were 3 radio stations, although by the time I got here, it was down to 2, WLLH and WCAP. There was an effort in 1971 to make a television station. It did not last. The point is that this was all downtown. LHS melded well with the local businesses, and many romances were made there. I learned at Lowell High School. I was exposed to asbestos at Lowell High School. I met my best friends like Jim Milanazzo at Lowell High School. Mr. Wyman Troll, who some of you may remember, dared me to read all of Thomas P. Castaigne's books on the English monarchy. I read each word and every one of them over the course of 1 year. I know more English history than most British people, and that was the result of Lowell High School. Lowell High School shaped me into a student. At first, I was lousy at being a student, but eventually it got me into college, and there I aced it. Because of Lowell High School and its relationship to Lowell State College, and we have a relationship now between UMass Lowell and the Lowell High School. We have the perfect auditorium, which I really like to stress, the perfect classrooms, the perfect educational history, the perfect placement of the names of the Carney medalists. No other public high school of its day had recognition for girls. We did. Now we have the Latin Lyceum and other areas of study. What you are asking us to dismantle is close to 200 years of progress and innovation. Our first high school graduating class included 2 governors, 1 general, 1 governor in New Hampshire and 1 in Massachusetts, 1 neurosurgeon, and 7 incredible businessmen. We have graduated presidential frontrunners, senators, and people who know how to cross the aisle, which is something we could use now. We have the Concord Coalition looking out for our students' retirement, a national park, the first one ever made in an inner city.
Jim, time.
I've got time?
Wrap it up. Yeah.
Okay. Let the kids define what the downtown businesses are worthwhile. Let them know downtown Lowell because it is a place of magic. Don't remove them from the center of the town. They deserve a break today, and you can give it to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn.
Is that about right? Okay. Good evening, Mayor Kennedy, members of the City Council. I am Michael J. Flynn of 132 Troll Lane East, Lowell. I come before you tonight in opposition to locating the new Lowell High School in my neighborhood at Cawley Stadium. The Cawley option has its attractions, but I think that those among you who support it have become so dazzled by its attractions that you have become blind to its negative aspects. You see your vote as a visionary decision. You think you're on the way to Tomorrowland. I think it is a damaging choice. I think you are putting us on the bus to Fantasyland, a place where transportation equity does not matter, new tax revenues are easy to come by, and traffic problems are not really problems at all. Well, tonight, I want to focus on just that last issue, traffic. Your traffic impact analysis study dated May 11th this year states that the Cawley site would generate 2,381 vehicle trips during the morning rush hour. Now that seemed like a lot of traffic to me, so I did a back-of-the-envelope calculation to get a better feel for what that would be like. Let me make some modest assumptions. First, assume that all the vehicles are compact cars, let's say Toyota Corollas, with an overall length of 183 inches each. That's 15.25 feet per vehicle. Second, let's just allow 3 feet between vehicles. That's 18.25 feet per vehicle. So the 2,381 vehicle trips would mean over 43,000 feet of traffic. Let me put that another way. It would be more than 8 miles of traffic. Let me put that another way. 8 miles of traffic would be enough to stretch in a single lane from the Lowell-Tingsboro line all the way down Pawtucket Boulevard and the VFW Highway, across the Hunts Falls Bridge, out Nesmith Street onto Rogers Street, and out Route 38 past Clark Road to just beyond Walmart in Tewksbury. Please. And when that 8 miles of traffic moves at all, I don't see it as a speed limit ride. I'm thinking more like a funeral procession for an archbishop. 8 miles. Let me invite you, especially the proponents, to do a thought experiment. Suppose that you were to wake up one day, just one day, and be confronted with 8 miles of vehicle traffic traversing your neighborhood during your morning commute. You might call the police. You might think there ought to be a law against this. If this is some kind of demonstration, these people should need a parade permit to do this. In any case, I think you would feel aggrieved. It would feel like harassment. Well, I'm right there with you. That would be really painful. And yet some of you tonight seem to be willing to inflict that kind of pain, not just once, but day after day on my neighborhood. And if you vote for the Cawley option, this is part of what you're voting for. I just don't see how you can do it. Believe me, people will remember your vote. Now, I know that mitigation techniques have been suggested, additional turning lanes and traffic signals. But I'd like to remind you that mitigation is just the process of softening the impact of a problem, not a guaranteed solution to the problem. Here's an example. Imagine that you somehow get into a bare knuckles fight with Mickey Ward. Now, that would be a problem. But suppose Mickey says, well, I'll wear boxing gloves. That's mitigation. But if you think that solves your problem, you are engaging in magical thinking. And magical thinking won't solve an 8-mile traffic jam. Not even Harry Houdini could escape from an 8-mile traffic jam, no matter how many side streets, cut-throughs, and alternate routes he tried. So, my good counselors, if upon reflection you find that you have allowed yourself to engage in some magical thinking on the traffic problem, please reconsider. If you are on the road toward voting for the Cawley option, please take a detour, seek alternate routes. Thank you.
Shelby Bovier.
Before you start, let me just, listen, we have got like over 60 speakers. It's 5 minutes apiece. It's going to take hours to get through this. And I can appreciate that people have a lot of enthusiasm this evening for this and for some of the speakers, and that you want to cheer every speaker. But I would just ask you to kind of keep it down so we can get through this. It seems like a good idea now, but it's not going to seem like a good idea at 10 o'clock or 10:30. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi. Shelby Bovair, 51 Gumpus Road. I've spoke before, so I'll try to keep mine brief because I do want to hear others speak as well. I'm a mother of 2 children, a rising 6th grader and 3rd grader, and a current Lowell High School guidance counselor. Our students and staff deserve the top-notch education and learning environment, classrooms clustered by subject, adjacent planning spaces, as well as a safe and secure one-building school building. We've listened to community forums, to our own security staff stating how difficult it is to currently manage all of the doors that we now have in several buildings. Those buildings will still remain. The doors will still be there. With a one-school building, we have a much more safe and secure environment to allow for much more focus on our great educational opportunities that we can offer students in an optimal environment. Learning spaces for all teachers, where we won't worry about safety concerns. It allows for a more realistic focus on 21st century learning and teaching, and on our school and curriculum, in location for our students to take great pride in for many years to come. I'm also puzzled to continually hear from others that moving to Collie is moving to a suburb. Collie in Belvedere. Belvedere is not a suburb of Lowell. We are all Lowell. Belvedere is a neighborhood in Lowell, just like my neighborhood, Pawtucketville, one of the furthest busing routes, is a neighborhood in Lowell. We, as Mr. Willett so gracefully put it, are all Lowell. Bringing a true campus feel with the least amount of disruption, and in actuality, zero disruption to students, thousands of students for years to come, is what I believe is best. This campus will be a huge asset with no disruption. I would like to say to you, the City Council, thank you for your tireless hours for all of this. This is not an easy decision, and I would not like to be the one to make it. I know others have wanted the city to vote, but I believe that you and all of us have heard, and you have listened to all of us as constituents, and will make the best decision possible. I hope that this divide that this has brought to our city will end, regardless of the final decision, and brings the city together to eventually, though I know it won't happen right away, come together on not just this issue, but many of the issues that we have as a city here in Lowell. I am Lowell, you are Lowell, you are Lowell, and we are all Lowell. Our students and staff have always worked very hard for the city, and we will continue to do so. And we would like you to work very hard for us and choose Collie.
Pan So. Pan So.
Pan So.
Move on. Leo Cregan.
Good evening. My name is Leo Cregan. I live at 105 Surrey Lane. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this very, very important matter tonight. While there will be many speakers that are going to talk to the educational values of the new facility, which I strongly agree with, I would like to follow up on some of the discussion that occurred this morning about the economic impacts of what the relocation of the high school to Collie will offer to the city of Lowell. And I think I would like to start by, if you came off the connector and you're driving into Lowell down Thorndike Street, if you did that 5 years ago, the first building you'd come across would be the Comfort Bed Building on the left-hand side, which is an old, non-productive building, and with the leadership of the present city administration and this city council, you now have a dynamic development that's going to come online within the next 3 to 4 months. It will offer market rate housing, it will offer commercial, and it will offer restaurant that will attract people from outside the city in, and it will attract people to locate in that facility. Next, you look across the street, what used to be the South Common, which is still the South Common. It was a barren facility that, with the help of a state grant, and again, the leadership demonstrated by this group, you're now going to have a beautiful facility with new lighting, new sidewalks, and a new facility that people will utilize versus no one used that in the last 5 years. You continue down Thorndike Street and you come to the Lord Overpass, which again, through the initiation and the farsightedness of this group, is going to take that Lord Overpass, which is a horror show, and you're going to rectify that and you can make it more accessible to get into downtown Lowell. The next thing, which is probably one of the more important, is you come to the Hamilton in district. This is right off to the right-hand side. Through the help of the sitting state legislature group, in which Mayor Murphy was, City Manager Murphy was a part of when they first started, and State Senator Steve Pangiotakis, we had the funding to develop that, and we now, you can see, a beautiful, all-encompassing courthouse that will be the anchor for that. I think equally important is that if you take and you utilize and partner with the University of Lowell and its reputation as a world-class university and utilize their M2D2 organization, they can be an incubator that will offer and attract medical device companies, robotic companies, high technology companies that will come in, set up thinking locations, development centers, and at the same time will develop those projects or those products that we're leading forward in the years to come. These are just some of the economic developments. I think you'll hear other people talk about this as we go forward. And I don't want to minimize the decision that you have to make here tonight. It's a very, very tough decision. I hope you make the right one. As I stated earlier, I'm a significant proponent for Colley. I think if you take into consideration the educational goals that can be achieved there, and if we listen to the consultants that you have hired, the optimum setting to achieve a very vibrant ed plan that's been developed by the people in Lowell, Colley is the site to do that. And I think if you do that, you do that in a safe environment, non-disruptive for a 4-year high school life of a kid going through high school. And then lastly, you combine that with the economic benefits that we can derive out of this. I think Colley is an obvious choice for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Blake. Tim Blake.
Good evening, Tim Blake, 40 Harlan Ave. Speaking to you as a father of 3 boys here in the Lowell Public School System and an out-of-town school principal. Wanted to touch on a little bit about enrollments and school funding. Simply put, we know school enrollment at the high school has been dropping. There are less than the close to 4,000 kids that used to be at LHS. We also know that during a school renovation, families will leave. Our own school superintendent has estimated that during a renovation, 500 students could leave the district. If a renovation option is chosen in 2 to 3 years from now, when the district is down 500 kids, school committee members, union leaders, teachers, families will all be here in City Hall asking for more funding. We will say that our kids need more, and I fear the City Council response will be, you have less kids. Shouldn't you have less teachers? My concern beyond funding is if we face layoffs, will the community ever be as engaged as we are tonight? Regardless of the outcome of this vote, it is good to see the city involved in the decision. The atmosphere tonight is much different than the high school meeting in December, where there were more elected officials in attendance than parents. Fact is, people are already leaving, and we need to reverse this trend. We need to keep our teachers and avoid a future with less students and less funding. If you choose a Colley option, enrollments will not drop. A new high school will be a reason for families to move and stay in Lowell. People will want to be part of the campus environment at Colley. Any Colley option will keep education a reason to come and stay in Lowell. Our education options can be improved upon without disrupting thousands of middle school students over the next 4 to 5 years. Please choose a path that will lead to increased student enrollments. Please keep kids and keep families in this city and choose an option that is better than good enough. Choose a new high school at Colley Stadium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barack J. Barack J.
Good evening, Good evening, Honorable Mayor Ed Kennedy, City Councilors, and residents of Lowell. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I am Virat J. of 233 West Manchester Street. I speak to you tonight as Jay, the fire alarm system apprentice. On any given day, I could be in any state in New England inspecting, troubleshooting, and servicing fire alarm, sprinkler system, ensuring building fire detection, protection, and the networking system are in good working order. Instead of dressing up tonight, I am currently wearing my work clothes because I got scolded on social media for being too sexy wearing a $300 suit while delivering my previous speech. Before moving on to the meat and potatoes of the speech, I want to set the record straight right here and now that I paid less than $100 for that suit after it went on sale. Folks, now that my attire is addressed, tonight is judgment night. We have moved beyond the small petty differences and arguments between the two contending sites, and there's nothing new you haven't heard between downtown and Cawley. Most people have already made up their minds, and it's not for me to try to convince anyone which side is better at the 11th hour. Objectively speaking, Cawley is without a doubt the best site. Moving the school to Cawley and commercially redeveloping the current LHS downtown will bring years of construction jobs and opportunities. Let us seize upon this opportunity to bring in a rising tide that lifts all boats. We can do that by giving that priority to the local contractors, ensuring the small guys and minorities get a fair share of the pie. Whatever you do, don't give it to the entity we all know pays only a few years of taxes and screw the city over the long run. And you all know who I'm referring to. To the folks in Belvedere area who oppose Cawley simply because they don't want it in their backyard, let me ask you this. Did the police officer, firefighters, EMT, and the men and women in service get to pick and choose who and which neighborhood to protect and serve? We are living in a civilized society where everyone does their part to contribute to the common good. Your unwillingness to sacrifice a little bit of your discomfort for the collective good of community is antisocial and un-American. I also find it disturbing that our elected officials, Congresswoman Songas, State Senator Donahue, and UMass President Mr. Meehan, have the audacity to speak on our behalf as if they know what's best for the people. With all due respect, it is we the people who elected you. It is your duty to serve the people's will, not the other way around. Honorable Mayor Kennedy and City Councilors, the tide has come in. We the people, as masters of our destiny and captain of the ship, command you to set sail. Destination, Cawley. May God bless this voyage and give us the strength and courage to travel a path of integrity, and may God bless our republic, the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Noel Cregan. We'll go on. She's upstairs. Yeah. Let me get the next one. We'll go the next one.
I think the whole Cregan family's is the next three, so they should all just come down at this point. Oh, two are off, okay. You want to go to Mariah?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go there. John Mariah. All right.
Bo Walter.
All right, here we go.
4 minutes. Good evening, Mr. Manager, City, I'm all discombobulated, sorry. Mr. Mayor, City Manager, Councilors, this has been a long road that we've all been on. And I think I've been lucky enough to be on it with you and have the opportunity to share my thoughts with you multiple times. I'm really out of breath. This is very embarrassing coming down those stairs. I've stated it many times. I am absolutely a proponent and in full support of moving the high school to Cawley. We talked about the benefits of that, an undisrupted education, a brand new building, the financial benefits of the future of our city. I did have my 2 daughters did want to speak tonight. I pulled them off the schedule just because I think there were a lot of speakers, and it's really been a little bit rough having kids lately on social media and what's been going on. I did want to pull a couple things that they actually wrote. This is their handwriting. It's not edited, but there were a couple things that my 13-year-old said that I think bear repeating, or at least saying out loud. She's concerned about, I could be, let's say, I feel that it would be extremely difficult to achieve good grades and be the best student that I could be. As you can imagine, there would be many distractions that come with being taught in a construction zone. I've been looking forward to attending Lowell High School since I was very small, because my father, aunts, cousins, and friends have attended there. I was looking forward to having a generally positive experience, but renovations to the old building may jeopardize that opportunity for me and many other students. Please select Collie. And then from the perspective of an 11-year-old, and I love it, she used bubble letters and pretty ink, because that's my daughter, Sophia. And I'll try and pull her statement from it. But it's kind of the same thing. She's concerned about a renovation, the possibility of modular classrooms, and she says, I've always wanted to go to Lowell High like my dad and aunts. I'm sorry, I'm from New Jersey, so we say aunts. It would be nice if I could be a part of my dad and my aunts. It would be nice if I could be a part of my Aunt Colleen's studio when I'm in high school, to share the same memories as her. But if the school will be renovated, I would spend my time working with traffic and construction going on around me. It would be frustrating. Those are their kind of the nature of their letters. They're very concerned. They're dying to go to Lowell High School, and their father and I are tasked with the decision to really determine if that's going to happen, if it's a renovation. That said, I think we have an opportunity right now. We know the history of Lowell High School in downtown. We know the history of Lowell. We also have to have a responsibility and opportunity to look towards the future, not just as it relates to the high school, but also the future development of the city. You have a big task. This is a tall order, and it's taken a lot of time, energy, and strength, I think, from a lot of us. I hope at the end of this we can all realize that the core of this decision and the core of the city, we are people. People that are the same people regardless of a location of a high school. That doesn't change the demographic of our city. It doesn't change the socioeconomic status of our city. And we have to band together and work together as we move forward after this decision is made. I'm hopeful that that decision will be for Collie. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Mariah. I'm going to have on deck, too, in case you have to come down, is Walter Nelson.
John Maria, 190 Mansa Street. I was going to forgo another speech tonight. However, after listening to the speeches, I need to address some facts. If you heard my previous speech, you know how passionate I am against eminent domain of local businesses for the purpose of building the high school. I have not heard any facts about eminent domain of Milan's Pizza and the Lexus building. However, I do believe someone has instilled fear in the owners of these properties with false facts and misrepresenting the 50-foot right-of-way that the city actually owns against the eminent domain idea. My guess, it was probably the same people that went to the Holy Ghost Society and told them they were going to lose their property if the high school was built at Collie. This process is much in the early stage, and if you choose the Collie Stadium location, I'm sure there's many things that can be done with traffic patterns and all types of things, the access to that. And I'm sure that the council would definitely look at those businesses and try to do everything they could to protect those businesses. Secondly, in regards to busing, it is time Lowell steps up for busing and pays for busing to the high school students. It's been 30-plus years that the city has got away without busing the students to the high school, and I think it's time to get the students there safely and get them there on time. This is not a deal breaker with the busing costs. Anyway, I'd like to take this last minutes to thank the council for all the effort you've put into the high school project. It is time for the city to come together and stop all of this BS. This is not time for a protest. All of this is turning into a circus sideshow, and we are soon to become the laughingstock of the state instead of the envy of the state. We have a chance to make a difference and build a school that other communities will envy. People need to stop the social media circus, stop the backroom politics, and move forward. All of you have put a tremendous effort into this process, and now it's your responsibility to see this process through to completion. God bless you.
Thank you.
Walter Nelson, and on deck is going to be Sean Kremen.
It's like a track meet. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, members of the City Council. Thank you for your patience with me over the course of this odyssey, but it started for me in 1959. I entered Lowell High School. I've spent most of my life there as a teacher, as a coach, as an administrator. I know the history. I know the buildings. I know the students. Many of them on both sides of this issue tonight have spoke before you, and I think the teachers of Lowell High School did an outstanding job. Terrific, terrific people. I also want to commend all the mothers and fathers who really believe this Colley site is the best possible site because their only motive is what's best for their children. I've heard all these conspiracy theories, but these young parents are only concerned with the best possible educational facility to be built in the city of Lowell, and I believe that's the Colley site. I've believed it since 1959. I believed it practicing out there in the sand. I believed it walking by the cows on Douglas Road. There were cows out there when we used to practice. I believed it when Ray Riddick said to me as a young coach, wouldn't it be great to have the high school out here? Wouldn't it be terrific if we had the opportunities that the schools we play against have? Step out our door and practice. Have our stadium right here. That was back in 1969-70, he said that to me. So I've been traveling this odyssey for a long, long time. And the Colley site is really superior. It's a 3-year build. There's no disruptions. It has major green space, wonderful athletic facilities, and all the professionals tell you it's the best possible educational site that's available. It meets all the needs. It's not that Lowell High School Renovation Plan 3 doesn't meet the needs, but this meets it best with the least amount of disruption. So with all that said, it should be a no deal here. As far as the neighborhood concerns, I live in the neighborhood. My friends don't believe me from out of town that I live in suburbia. Believe me, when I tell them I live in Lowell, it's not suburbia. The complexion of that high school is not going to change whether we're on Kirk Street or you're out on Village Street. Again, neighborhood concerns. We should not be busing people down Douglas Road as an access to that high school. That's a no-no. There's no need of a left-hand turn there. It is ridiculous. You're on a hill. The left-hand turn should be on Village Street. It should be one way in the morning, one way in the afternoon. The city owns the land. I was part of the deal when we signed that over to the city of Lowell when the Alumni Association 50-year lease ran out. I was also on, my name's also on the transfer of the 11 or 12 acres that we're talking about tonight in '96. So I know that property. I stood on that property this past weekend. And I know we're in foliage season, but I couldn't see a house. We're bordered by the shopping center, Holy Ghost Park, a major wetland. The closest house to that building is going to be in Tewksbury. We're at least 1,000 feet away from Douglas Road. And as far as the architect's plan, I think that's going to look better when the building's completed than it would today. I think that if you kept the traffic off that, no access into that high school, use Village Street, use the loop off Clark Road extension as an exit, you'd have an ideal situation. 6 or 8 months after that school starts, you wouldn't even notice that it was out there. Thank you very much.
We have Sean Kremen, and on deck is Robert Maria.
Good evening, councilors, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager. Thank you for having me to speak. Councilor Samaras, welcome back. I'm glad that your health is better. I would also like to congratulate Coach Roulette on the job that he just got. Well deserved, Scott. I wrote a bunch of notes. I think I'm going to pass on the notes, and I'm going to speak from the heart. My name is Sean Kremen. I'm a Highlands resident, 344 Stevens Street. Born and raised in the Highlands, have 2 kids that went to Lowell High. My youngest son just graduated a couple of weeks ago. I'm an 82 grad, love Lowell High. I'm currently working as a security guard at the high school. I love my job, and I take it very seriously. The first thing I'd like to touch on is the neighbors back here at Arcan Drive, the dentist. I went over there and spoke to some of the employees. My understanding is there's 23 of them that are from Lowell. They live in Lowell, they commute there, they spend money here. They have a $1.5 million payroll. I hear people talk about economic development. I think these are the kind of neighbors that you want downtown. I went in there was a stack of menus from restaurants and places all over downtown for them getting lunch. They rent cobblestones, they rent other restaurants for Christmas parties and events. They raise money for charities, they donate, they're on all kinds of boards. That's not a building. Those are people. Those are Lowell people that are invested in downtown, and that's what I thought we wanted here. I hear eminent domain, eminent domain. How about economic development? That's what the ED should stand for as far as I'm concerned, economic development. Those are the perfect neighbors. Okay, they hire local contractors. They do their landscaping, they do their plowing, they hire local pavers, pave that parking lot and paint lines. Those are good people. That's not just a building. Now let's move over the canal to our other neighbors over by Lowell High. Living Waters. It's a great name. Not sure if everybody knows what Living Waters is, but to me it's a shelter. Okay, I have a kind heart and I'd be gladly to help anybody. But you should not have those people near high school kids, boys and girls. That's a fact. There's people sleeping on benches half naked. There's booze, there's drugs. Okay? We chase them away. The police come. They do their job. We do our job. I don't know all the dynamics of what the agreement with the city, but you have a chance to take those teenagers away from that. Who wouldn't do that? It's not the right exposure to have those people near you, right abutting that high school. Okay, I see it every day. And as the weather gets nicer, it gets worse. Okay, there's people sleeping, there's people urinating, there's blankets, there's things. They sleep in doorways all around the neighborhood of the school. That's a fact. Maybe nobody wants to talk about it, but that's a fact. Okay? My next point, I'd like to talk about some of these kids that everybody is so worried about and so concerned about. These kids are from Lowell. They'll be okay. They're going to get to Cawley. They're going to get to wherever you build this school. Okay, you could build this school right next to the Vogue. They're going to get there. I see these kids every day. They're some of the most resilient children you're ever going to meet. They walk. They take bikes. They ride scooters. They take taxi cabs, Ubers. They carpool. Some of them run to school and shower in the gym before first period. I'm asking you people from Lowell, we all hear the stories about our grandfathers that walked to school uphill both ways. Okay, these kids will get there. It doesn't matter where you build a school. They will get there, I promise you that. They're resilient. Challenge them. It'll be okay. You don't have to hold their hand and keep the school here and keep them safe. They're going to be okay. They can make it to where you build their school. They want to. They want to go to a school. Some of them are from war-torn countries. They're survivors. They're resilient. Challenge them. I ask you, challenge these. So what? They go a little further. They're going to love it. Okay, my third point, and I'll try to be brief. Like I mentioned, I'm a security guard down there. I'm very concerned. I was hired to keep your children and the staff safe. That's my job. I take that very seriously. There's 65 doors currently at Lowell High. Mr. Martin has done a good job as far as securing those doors. I applaud him what he did with the doors. But let's face it, there's a lot of foot traffic downtown. There is also a serious criminal element downtown. Whether we want to admit
Excuse
that
me?
again. Yes.
You're at 5, you gotta wrap it
Okay,
up.
I'll wrap it up. It's a logistical nightmare if there's ever an emergency. Now you factor in a construction zone. I've been with the nursing staff and the medical staff. If you factor in a construction zone for the next 4 or 5 years, it's pending. You're going to be sorry. I would not put people in harm's way like that. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Robert Maria, and on deck Sam Polton.
Robert Maria, 26 Montague Avenue, Lowell, Mass. Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, and all your assistants, and everyone on both sides of the fence. We've all heard arguments pro and con for several months now. I think we know how everyone feels. I want to thank all the time that all of you, both representatives and the public, have put into this a very difficult decision. The correct decision is vote for Cawley. Let's do it tonight, and let's all unite after that for the best of Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Polton, and on deck Fessner Noon.
Sam Polton. Bessner, do it. You want to? You go.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy, City Councilor, Mr. Manager, for this opportunity to speak before you as a leader within the Asian community and someone who cares deeply about the city of Lowell, and as a father of 2 children, a recent grad and a 10-year-old who will attend the new high school. I am compelled to express my support for keeping the high school downtown. And to express my belief that option 3 is the best choice for our children and for the future of the city of Lowell. I have arrived at my support for option 3 after hours of discussion of the issue with people from all corners of Lowell, gaining perspective from many different neighborhood and ethnic groups. The cost estimate clearly illustrated that this option is the most fiscally sensible decision for taxpayer. This is an aspect that we cannot overlook, but this alone does not provide a sufficient basis to support for the decision of this magnitude. High school is a critical time of life, a time that requires a first-class education that will compel one to college or into a productive working life. And education does not just happen in the classroom. Young people need social, cultural education, one that can be had in a downtown setting that include public library, national park, UTech, ULO, Girl Inc., MCC, Lowell, the community health, and more. A state-of-the-art facility that respects history while embrace the future can be achieved downtown. The opportunity to situate an institution of learning in the heart of a living museum our downtown represent is an opportunity of which other community would be envious. Moving the high school to the edge of the city will create a hardship for many, if not most students and their parents. Those who walk to school from the acres and other nearby neighborhood will no longer have that option, placing more cars and buses on our road. I hope councilors who vote to move the high school to Collie understand that providing busing for students means more than $3 million will be unavailable to hire more police officers, firefighters, or provide other much-needed service for the city of Lowell. I fear that moving the high school from a central location equitable and accessible to all will have a devastating impact on many of our children. I believe that making the high school more difficult to get may exacerbate a performance gap that persists in our school system, may negatively impact the attendance rate, particularly among at-risk groups, and may make school resources like tutoring and extracurricular activity more difficult to access. These are the risks that we cannot afford as a community. For this reason, I support keeping the high school downtown and urge the council to do the same. Again, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Robert Fodden, and on deck Jack Breen.
Good evening, Rob Farden, 135 Frothingham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I have with me an opinion from John DeAngelis from Earth Realty that he asked me to read on his behalf. I'm going to deliver them both to the councilors as well. I'm actually going to abridge the opinion for the sake of time. I think we're all up against it now at this point. But essentially, John's opinion is the best use of the current high school property would convert the current site into mixed-use complex of residential, retail, and restaurant space that balances Lowell's historic preservation with a modern-day experience/destination that consumers require. An experience conducive to drawing residents, neighboring families, college students. Think Faneuil Hall, Quincy Market meets Church Street up in Vermont, meets Assembly Square in Somerville, and The Point out in Littleton. This is John speaking. Just as I did while devising Earth Realty's game plan, I ask you to turn your eyes to places like Boston, where the gentrification of the South End and the reimagining of the Seaport District, the Rose Kennedy Greenway, and the redevelopment of the West End, i.e. the Boston Garden neighborhood, all converge to invigorate a vibrant urban economy. We, Lowell, can execute a similar plan. The existing high school's location is ideal for connecting the city with visionary development. Within walking distance to the Songus Arena, Boarding House Park, Merrimack Street, the Hamilton Canal, the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, and the MRT, this site provides a rare opportunity to create another destination that fortifies the cohesion between current and future drivers of Lowell's downtown economy. And as a wonderful side effect, this will also undoubtedly attract more high-end buyers with the discretionary income to fuel further growth and prosperity for the downtown business economy. If you give dedicated, creative developers a chance to contribute to the vision, they will line up in droves. This is not John's comment, this is mine. We've heard a lot for the last few months about some really impressive people that helped bring this city to where it is. We've spoken about Mr. Mogan, we've spoken about Mr. Songus. I knew neither of them, but I know this, they did tremendous things for this city. Their memory is well served. The efforts that they made will not be forgotten ever. However, it's time for us to appreciate them and allow them to rest. They did a great job. It's time for us to pick up the mantle that they put down and look for the new Songuses, the new Mogans out there, to drive this city forward. Because the more we look behind and look longingly and focus behind, we miss what's in front of us. Please say yes to Collie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Breen, and on deck, Onastes Somani.
Good evening, City Councilors, and Mayor Kennedy. My name is Jack Breen, and I live at 49 Daniel Street in Belvedere. I graduated from Lowell High in 2015. I'm here today to urge you to make the best, most responsible decision for this city. And that is to keep Lowell High downtown. Lowell High was built where it stands today for one reason, so that all citizens can have fair and equal access to get an education. Today, Lowell High School is still able to do that while downtown, as its central location in the heart of the city ensures equal and fair access for all. Also at the downtown location, students have access to the campuses of Middlesex Community College, UMass Lowell, various businesses, shops, and restaurants, and are exposed to the diversity of cultures that exist downtown. If the high school were to move to Colley Stadium, it would have disastrous effects on the city. If moved to the Colley site, which is located on the Lowell-Tewksbury line, the students that walk and take the LRTA will literally be out of reach of the high school. With LHS centrally located downtown, many students rely on walking and taking the LRTA buses to get to school. The LRTA already has one line that runs through Belvedere and legally can't make any more to compete with private bus companies. So the city would have to create its own school busing system, which would cost taxpayers $3 million annually. Taxpayers won't pay it. The $3 million will most likely come from the city's education funding, and our public school system is already starting to suffer from lack of funding. Changes in the infrastructure of Belvedere would have to occur as well to accommodate the traffic that would come along with the new high school, and that too will come at a steep price. For example, Rogers Street would have to be widened 12 feet so that traffic and buses can come through. And MassDOT stated that it would cost the city alone $20 million, and the state won't be covering any of it. But these are just a snippet of the many problems that plague the Colley site. There have been questions regarding the taking of property in order to build the new high school, whether or not the athletic fields at the high school will fit Title IX qualifications, and will the Belvedere neighborhood be able to sustain the traffic that will come through every morning? With so many questions and concerns regarding the Colley site, it has honestly baffled me as to why some members of the council would go with an option that would so adversely affect the city. It has me wondering, does the council truly have the interests of the people of this city at heart, or are they catering to their campaign donors and other special interest groups? I think this council should remember it was the people you represent that got you on the council, not money. Unless these councilors want their names and reputations associated with a decision that will possibly bankrupt the city and send Lowell into a down spiral, I ask this council to do what is right, what is responsible, what is best for this city, and that is to keep Lowell High downtown. I also ask that this council put the question of whether Lowell High should stay downtown or move to Colley on the ballot this November. With an issue like this having such a huge impact on the city, it is only right that the citizens of Lowell pick the location of the new high school. In addition, there are members of the council that have serious conflicts of interest and therefore cannot properly represent the people of the city. There is also voter apathy in the city, and I believe that putting this question on the ballot will solve it. It is for these reasons I ask the council to put this question on the ballot in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
part of rules are that as a city councilor, any speaker that comes to that podium, we have a right to question them. That is a rule, and I want to know what this young man meant by someone here has a conflict of interest. That is a statement that I want an answer to, so if he could come back and answer to me what he's referring to, I want to know. What statement are you referring to? Who are you referring to in that statement that has a conflict of interest that shouldn't be serving here? Because I don't know any one of the 9 of us that has a conflict of interest that shouldn't be serving here unless one of us is secretly living in Drake, and I don't know that. So please explain to me.
I do believe I heard that it was.
You heard?
Counselor, let him, if you want him to come to the
Yes,
mic
go
and
ahead.
speak, then let him speak.
I believe I heard that it was Councilors Mercier, Councilors Belanger, and Councilor Elliott that received benefits or donations from the dentist's office located behind the high school at 75 Arcan Drive, and as well as John Cox, I believe.
And I can respond to that. I'm not denying what you said is not true. You are absolutely right. But those that support the option 3 have gotten donations from members like other people that are associated with Lowell High School. So, you know, that's a conflict of interest too. So don't target one side when everybody is getting donations
Okay,
from
Rita.
each side.
That's enough.
That's all right. I
Councilman
want to
Milanazzo.
know.
Councilman Milanazzo.
Councilor Mercier's comments are what is wrong with this whole process. Bully, intimidation, and I just can't believe it. I just cannot believe what you just did to the speaker. I cannot.
Mr. Green, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy.
Next speaker.
Onestos Omani. Onestos Omani.
I just want to, okay, it's Onotsce, Omoy. Okay, I just wanted to.
I apologize.
Don't be sorry. I know it's tough. So, good evening, counselors. My name is Onase Omieni. I live at 20 Dundee Street. I'm a member of Lowell High's recently graduated class of 2017. I wanted to address the council today because I think in such a contentious debate, it can be really easy to get lost in a lot of things. In the numbers, in the traffic pattern, in the amount of green space, and within a sea of what-ifs. I understand that these things are critical and must be considered if we are to build a high school that will withstand the test of time. But I worry that in considering these things, the council may have forgotten the responsibility they have to Lowell residents. When you visit the City Council page on the City of Lowell website, under the word role, there is an anonymous quote. It reads, "The fundamental purpose of government is to provide for the safety and welfare of its citizens." The word citizens is left undefined, and so we must interpret the word ourselves. I fear that in doing so, members of the council have created a very narrow definition, one that considers campaign donors, personal revenue, friends, and owed favors. This troubles me because as someone who spent 4 years at Lowell High, who has friends from every neighborhood in Lowell, people who live unique and at times complex lives and experience high school in a plethora of ways, the term citizen becomes much broader. The experiences I consider in this debate are much broader than what I fear the council has considered. So I just want to take a moment to remind the council that in the context of this debate, the term citizen does not only refer to those who will be at the high school for the next 4 to 5 years, but instead those who will rely on a public education for the next 50 years. It does not only apply to those who drive or get dropped off at school every day, but also those who walk and take the bus because their parents cannot afford to drive. The term does not only apply to those whose parents have the ability to be engaged, to those who have the time to spend after school talking with teachers, talking with staff, talking with faculty, and members of the administration. In this context, it is important that we remember the term also applies to those students who must learn to become their own parents, to those students because their parents' work schedule and conflicts with these times. The term citizen also applies to those whose parents are unfamiliar with the school system, those whose parents don't speak English. The term does not only apply to those students who play sports and participate in clubs after school, but the student who runs to catch the bus as soon as the 7th period bell rings, so they can get to work or pick up their younger sibling. The term does not only apply to students whose parents are active community members who know the resources that are available to them, but those who must also access the International Institute, CTI, the Lowell Community Health Center, UTEC, Coalition for a Better Acre, food banks, and many more. The term applies to those students who don't have a computer at home and use the library to do homework in the evenings. In this context, the term also applies to those students who need to access the court system for a plethora of reasons pertaining to family or other personal matters. The term also does not only apply to students. The term citizen applies to all people of Lowell. The term applies to those who will, through tax increases or the cutting of vital and important programs, will feel the ramifications of the high school being moved to Collie. The term also applies to those of us who will be left with a bankrupt city if the high school is moved to Collie. I understand that all of you can only do what you think is right. So that's what I'm asking you to do tonight. To do the thing that is right for our students, to put a new high school in downtown Lowell, where the public education remains accessible to all and ensures that we do not stray farther away from our vision of educational equity. I'm also asking you to do what is right for the taxpayers. Despite some of you attempting to justify your jab to low-income students and students of color under the guise of economic development or fiscal responsibility, the Collie site will clearly bankrupt the city. Busing alone would cost an additional $3.2 million every year. Reconstructing Roger Street is, again, another little surprise we found out about, with an additional initial cost of $20 million. And I'm sure there are other infrastructure costs pertaining to businesses and homes in the Belvedere neighborhood that are still unknown. I understand that not only are there outside factors that you have been weighing, but outside pressures. I know that this is the biggest vote you will have as a city councilor of Lowell. It is a vote that will determine the future of our students, but also the future of our city. I would implore you, before you cast your vote, to ask yourselves one question. Am I doing the right thing? Not for myself, not for my friends, not for my neighbors, but for the people I am here to represent. As I'm sure you are aware by now, yesterday there was a student-organized event. Students were frustrated that the city was doing little to prioritize their voices, and so they took democracy into their own hands. They held a sit-in in favor of the downtown location. Students who showed up were asked to write why they believe Lowell High should be downtown and wrote it on a little sticky note. Students and alums who were here today added to the boards, but from yesterday's rally, if I could, I would like to submit.
I want to say,
Yeah.
you're at 5.
Okay, I just wanted to, and I have these are the typed up, what students wrote on the sticky note. It's for the mayor, because I know there's like only certain ones on certain sides. So I would implore you all to ask yourselves, am I doing the right thing? And consider the experiences of all Lowell High students, not just those who will be there for the next 4 to 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Cirillo.
Karen Cirillo.
And on deck is going to be Greta Walensky.
Hi, Mayor, councilors. My name is Karen Cirillo, and I live on 6th Street. Some of you might remember me as a former candidate for City Council. When I first made my choice to run, I would drive through the beautiful city of Lowell, and I'd see all the people, and I would say, I would work for you, and you, and you. My goal was to be the voice of all of Lowell, not just a select few. I am here today because I take exception to the word renovation. I've been in construction nearly 20 years, and I know that there are many levels to the type of construction called renovation. There are the quick fixes that address certain areas, which I know that the high school has had in the past. And then there are the complete gutting of the building, which needs restoration to become new again. Perkins Eastman and Skanska have put forth viable building options that meet all the same criteria for the educational needs of our students. All buildings will have a 50-year warranty for the work that will be completed. If you're questioning the ability of the downtown building option to be appropriate, then you are telling Perkins, Eastman, and Skanska that they have not done their job, and they most certainly have. So, at the end of construction, if you want to walk in the halls of a newly designed interior which will have all state-of-the-art equipment to best support our students' needs in their success, then vote downtown. Thank you.
Greta Walensky. Greta Walensky. On deck, Clementine Alexis.
Dear Lowell City Council, keeping LHS in downtown makes it easily accessible to all students and their families. A central, downtown location is what's fair and equitable for all. It's what's reliable and sustainable for the future of Lowell. Wherever you stand, you must recognize the abundant fees the Colley site would require. And I don't mean the cost of building. I mean the $20 million MassDOT will require the city to spend doing road work on Rogers Street. I mean the $3.2 million annual busing fee this Colley site would require. $3.2 million would equal over a 2% increase for Lowell taxpayers. If taxpayers won't agree to such a steep increase, that $3.2 million would fall on the backs of students' families or cut into the city's educational budget. We can't afford that. Last month, the City Council voted for a $3 million budget cut for education. Lowell Schools absolutely does not have $3.2 million unused dollars lying around each year. My mother has worked in Lowell Public Schools, and I have attended them for most of my life. I've seen the shape that budget cuts take, and they largely are met by laying off teachers. A Colley site would bankrupt the city and leave students with a facility that is brand new but empty because we've laid off so many teachers and other vital staff members. The truth is, Lowell is not a wealthy city. The cost of transportation alone should have taken the Colley option off the table months ago. Furthermore, the Colley site isn't desired by many Belvedere residents. Where in the entire city can you find the most concentrated area of homes with LHS downtown signs? Along Douglas Road, right next to Colley Stadium. People choose to live in Belvedere because it is a quiet residential community. Putting an enormous high school in the middle of everything would disrupt the community entirely. As everyone in this room cannot deny, traffic on Andover and Rogers Street is already terrible as it is. During peak hours, it can take over 5 minutes to make a left turn onto either of those roads. Bringing in 3,000 plus students and hundreds of staff members will make things astronomically worse. Factor in the millions the city will be forced to spend taking land to expand roads, including the property on which beloved Milan's Pizzeria rests, and you're left with a plan that's poorly thought out. This plan will bankrupt the city of Lowell. While at work recently, a customer asked me my opinion on where the new downtown should be. I gave her all the facts I knew, including what Councilor Mercier said 2 weeks ago about the free and reduced lunch students of Lowell High not benefiting local downtown businesses. This classist jab prompted the woman to tell me she was never voting for Councilor Mercier ever again. As a student, I saw how both kids and staff supported local downtown business immensely, no matter our parents' incomes. Most of us had part-time jobs. We had the money to afford a coffee at Brood or a bite at Life Alive. We actively support the local economy. Do not discredit us in that. Councilor Elliott, you claim to be Lowell's fiscal watchdog. Why then are you voting for a plan that will bankrupt our city? Bankrupt our city. What do you have to say to that? A vote for Colley is a vote to evict over 3,000 Lowell High students in order to make room just in case wealthy people move into these proposed luxury apartments. Lowell High is not a luxury location. Putting money on the idea that wealthy people will flock to downtown Lowell to increase tax revenues for the city is an unreliable and risky plan. We will be left with enormous empty and unmaintained buildings in the heart of downtown Lowell and a continuous debt that will harm the city indefinitely. So councilors, if nothing else, know that our generation of Lowell residents are watching. We are political. Lowell, we are registered to vote. And for most of us, your vote on where Lowell High should be is the determining factor in who we will and will not vote for among you. This issue has brought young people into local politics, and we are not going anywhere. If you vote for Colley tonight, just know every downtown supporter in the city will vote you out of office the next chance we get. A high school at Colley Stadium is not sustainable for the future of Lowell in the ways in which a downtown Lowell high school has proven itself to be for almost 200 years.
Excuse
Counselors,
me. You're at 5.
I urge you to vote option 3. If your personal ties to either former city manager John Cox, the dentist of 75 Arkin Drive, or other donors mitigate you from casting an unbiased vote, put this on the ballot. Thank you. Good night.
Clementine Alexis.
Good evening. My name is Clementine Alexis. I live at 142 Holyrood Avenue in Lowell. I was here about 10 days ago and gave you my opinions about my feelings for the Lowell High School. I do support the Lowell High School staying downtown. At that time, I talked about the land taking along Douglas Road, because my husband and I own the property at 700 Rogers Street, which is at the corner of Rogers Street and Douglas Road. I recognized at that time that part of that land was the city's. I knew that right along, but part of it was going to be ours also. Since then, I have discovered that the state is going to take all of my frontage on Rogers Street for a turning lane. If you take all of my frontage, you practically devalue my whole building. I am not an engineer, but I'm not so naive as to think that the width of my property on Rogers Street is sufficient to support a traffic lane. They will have to take even more property from my neighbor next door at the automobile dealership. They will also be taking, as they stated, land from Milan on the other side of Douglas Road. His frontage is not wide enough to support a traffic lane, so they will take at least to Buttman Road, which includes two other buildings, 3 buildings in total, mine and the next door neighbor. That's 5 buildings taken from eminent domain. Some of the councilors here have been very strong about not wanting to use eminent domain on Arcan Drive because it will involve lots of businesses down there. The 5 of our businesses employ people, we sell products, we offer services, we provide food, we contribute to the economic development of this city. I don't have a dentist in my building, but I do have a doctor in my building. We have had a doctor's office in that building since June 29th, 1986. In a few days, we're going to celebrate 31 years of that. It's a busy office, very viable. Where are his patients going to park when they have to come to visit? Where does someone even drop off someone when they come to visit? Downtown stores and businesses also have this problem because some streets are very busy and they can't park in front of them. But downtown, there are municipal parking lots. There are municipal parking garages. Where's the garage for our neighborhood? It doesn't exist. So as I said to you, taking my land, which is a done deal, obviously, if it goes to Colley, puts me out of business completely. Not just me, it's quite a few people. Now, some of us commercial businesses, I'll call us the commercial strip on Rogers Street, live in Lowell. Some of us don't. But everyone along Douglas Road, which will also be affected by eminent domain, does live in Lowell. They pay their taxes in Lowell, and they vote in Lowell. Again, please vote for downtown.
Thank you.
David Kalivas. You got it. On deck is Quinn Breen.
So, David Kalivas, 191 Wentworth Ave. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Well, it's quite a session. I do want to thank the councilors, even those who I don't agree with, and rather fiercely don't agree with. I want to thank you, though, all of you, for the work that you're doing, because it's really very important work. I want to thank everyone gathered here, too, because this is what it's all about, voicing our opinions, engaging the issues, and at some point, what are the issues? I would have loved to have had Perkins do some fact-checking statements when I was hearing different things up here, and I don't have all the time, I only have 5 minutes to go over, but we would need some fact-checking, even from a few of the folks who talked about this, the reason for the right-hand turn on the left-hand turn on Douglas. We're not going to have buses. Well, there are no buses going down the left-hand turn. No one ever said, Perkins never said buses going down the left-hand turn on Douglas. It's always the traffic of the employees and other students at the high school. So even, I mean, there are facts that would need to be checked, but I'm not here to check the facts. That's why you have your consultants. I went to their sessions, and one of the things that I heard, and that really stood out most, and it really hits me that we need to be a little honest with ourselves, that when we look at costs, now I went to the same sessions, I've read the same material, and when we hear the costs, the downtown costs are not the same as the Cawley costs. The costs at Cawley are more, not just by what it will cost to build new buildings, but also the subsidiary costs. We just heard the costs for taking land by eminent domain for sidewalks, the costs for turning lanes, there are the costs for busing. So when you factor in all the subsidiary costs for Cawley, it's much more expensive than the downtown option, right at the outset. So I don't understand how anyone can say that the downtown option is more expensive, and so we need to go to Cawley. I also don't understand how we can say, oh, we won't have a great facility downtown when we do the renovation. Perkins told us, undeniably, the renovation is renovation to new. And I, as a faculty member at Middlesex, and I'm not speaking for Middlesex, have seen us do renovation to new. And guess what? It's renovation to new. If you saw the Nesmith House before it was renovated, it was a disaster. So, I mean, we are being told that it will be renovation to new, so we should take them at their word or fire them and get someone else, frankly. And so how can we possibly then not go with downtown just for the fiscal costs? I don't understand. Second, eminent domain. We just heard, and I've heard from Perkins, that there will be eminent domain at Cawley, that Milan Pizza, a neighborhood business for over 35 years that serves that neighborhood, essentially will be ruined. No one seems to care about that. Alexis, we heard just now, there are a variety of businesses that will be probably ruined, and they can't relocate. You can't relocate a neighborhood pizzeria. Go ahead, try. Yeah, go ahead, try and relocate it. It serves that neighborhood. However, Archon Drive can be relocated to the Hamilton, if you will, district if you want. Yet what we're seeing here is not talk about, oh, the downtown is pretty empty, storefronts are empty, businesses have failed, new ones come in. Hamilton, we don't have all the developers. We have other areas of the city that have been waiting for development. No, what we're being told is Lowell, the current downtown site, we are going to fill that with market rate luxury apartments on a whim, on a magical hope that someone's going to come. I remember when we talked about this city as a destination city. I don't hear any of you talking about this city as a destination city. I don't see a business plan for how we're going to develop the current sites, and you want to add another site to that development. Forget about the historic nature. Oh no, let's not. Let's not forget about the historic nature of having the downtown high school. And that this city's renaissance as it emerged in the 70s and in the 80s was because of really capitalizing on that historic nature. So we shouldn't forget about that the downtown site will be renovated to the new, it will be much more costly, much more economical, and most importantly of all, it will serve the students. Both sites, whether we're at Cawley, I have to say this, both sites will service the students, no question. And so if both sites will service the students and provide top quality education, why are you not going with the downtown site that is economical, that maintains the vitality of that area? I don't know why you don't do that. I have no idea. I hope you will reconsider tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Quinn Breen, and on deck, Dominic Lay.
Good evening. My name is Quinn Breen, and I live at 49 Daniel Street. I'm here today to ask you once more to please do what's best for the city and best for the students and vote for option number 3. We've been through countless presentations and conversations that have proven the complete infeasibility of a Cawley location, yet here we are today with the Cawley option still on the table. So, at the risk of sounding repetitive, I will remind you again that downtown is the only location that provides students with equal access to the school and to the many other downtown-based resources that they need access to. It would be wrong to extract Lowell High students from downtown, as it is the heart of their city, and it has, to a great extent, been built around them and designed to serve their needs. There are too many variables and uncertainties with the Cawley location that simply don't exist with the downtown location. It is unfathomable to me that there is still no legitimate plan on how to pay for or execute busing to Cawley, one of the most fundamental issues in this debate, yet some of you intend to vote for Cawley anyway. What if the taxpayers in the city can't pay for buses? You simply can't promise the city students that they will have access to transportation because somehow, on the day of the vote, you still have no plan for it. To put it simply, and to put it bluntly, Cawley is an irresponsible option. It is irresponsible to make a gamble that will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, when you can't even tell us exactly how this money will be spent, and we can't predict the outcome with any degree of certainty whatsoever. The argument for Cawley is based on things that we don't know for certain. The pro-Cawley side of the debate speaks in terms of possibilities. It might be good for the students. It might allow us to revitalize downtown business. It might do a lot of things. But this is too important for us to put our faith in might. It seems that all we do know for certain is that Cawley will lead to transportation inequity, it will cost more, it comes with wildly expensive infrastructure costs, and it will propose tremendous difficulties with traffic and a host of other problems. It just doesn't make sense to take such a risk, and I would think that, as city councilors, especially the self-proclaimed fiscal watchdogs among you, it would be unconscionable to do so. In preparing what I wanted to say tonight, I had some difficulty trying to think of what I could say that hasn't been said already, and that could actually be effective enough to influence you, as most of you have already proven that the needs of the students are not your priority. I and so many others have called, emailed, and come before the City Council and asked you to consider what is best for the students. Instead, you told us what you think is best for business. So we asked you to consider downtown business, the downtown businesses that rely on high school students. And you care more about dentists who have the money to make political donations. Now I realize that what you do care about and what you're most likely to respond to is a more political appeal. Well, yesterday there was a pro-downtown rally held at Lowell High. This rally was organized entirely by students at the high school. There were no higher-ups giving them commands or anything like that. Students took up the initiative themselves to advocate for option 3 because they are passionate about it, and the rally was very well attended. What happened yesterday at Lowell High is not an isolated event, and it's not something that happened one day and will be forgotten the next. What we saw at Lowell High yesterday was a groundswell of activism amongst Lowell's youth. It was the beginning of a mass mobilization of Lowell's youth as a cohesive coalition of organizers, activists, and, come November, in every election cycle after that, voters. We know what's best for our own futures, and we overwhelmingly support downtown. We also know who amongst you has our same interests in mind and who doesn't. I will remind you that you are representing us, not the Arcan Drive dentist and not John Cox. You may not care to listen to what you can do for the students, but don't underestimate the impact that the youth can have in this city when we organize. We are the generation of Lowellians who will be dealing with the ramifications of this poor decision as adults. If you choose to bankrupt our city and leave us to clean up the mess, we have the political power to make you regret it, as some of you have learned tonight.
You're at 5.
You would be wise to listen to us.
Excuse me, you're at 5 minutes.
All right, I'd also like to suggest putting the question
of the high school on the ballot in November, and I'd like to thank the counselors who've already pledged to do what's best for Lowell students, particularly Counselor Samaras, whose statement I thought was beautifully written and cut right to the thought of what this issue is about. Thank you.
Dominic Lay. And on deck is going to be Adelaide.
Dominic Lay.
Adelaide Souza is going to be on deck.
First of all, I don't want to, Dominic Lay, 363 Walker Street. I don't want to pretend to be a downtown economist and pretend what's happened, and I don't want to accuse Skanska for poisoning kids with asbestos. We go to them for advices. I have always been a proponent of a brand new building at a centralized location. As of today, that's not the option for us, with about $350 million that we have to share. The system has brought us to choose one or the other, a centralized location or a brand new building. As we have learned, both projects at Collie and downtown have no significant comparable learning advantages from one over the other. Downtown is a centralized location, and it's very important because it gives the most fair and equal access to education to all students, including the after-school educations. Lowell High at Collie will look very nice. There are a lot to like about Lowell High at Collie. It is a brand new footprint, having football fields, baseball fields, and a huge parking lot next to it. There are many good reasons to support Lowell High at Collie. What stopped me from going all in with Collie is everything that's wrong with it. It comes with questions whether it will provide smoother construction for Lowell because of so many unknown potential problems with that location. I cannot stop myself from thinking that Lowell High at Collie is a better fit for Lowell Tewksbury High because of its location. In the past, busing was considered too expensive. Therefore, I am convinced that busing is only a bandage solution. I do not believe that busing will survive many budget cut debates in the future. With Lowell High going to Collie, I have concerns for the rest of the students. There would be citywide interruptions for elementary and middle school families. To accommodate Lowell High at Collie, the city of Lowell would be divided into 5 zones. Every grade below high school would be interrupted when elementary and middle school students being forced to go to school in their assigned zone. They may have to attend schools different from their choice and different starting times too. Lower grade students have to change their routines in order to accommodate the high school's relocation. Therefore, relocating to Collie may cause the most interruption for the city. If Collie were to be selected, I plead all of you, city leaderships, to reconsider about the plan to divide the city of Lowell into 5 zones, for it will cause more problems, including desegregation compliances. A school is great because of curriculums, students, parents, teachers, school leaderships, city leaderships, and access to education to all students. For that reason, as charming as Collie is going to be, I don't think it will provide a better education than downtown or anywhere else. A very nice school to be proud of is where everybody can be part of. A centralized location. A centralized location is a better place where everybody can be part of. I feel that Collie, for being far away from most families, may be alienating the majority of the students and their parents even further than what Lowell already has. The current Lowell High is already an established centralized location where every student has equal access to education, and there aren't as much preparation as if it were to move to Collie, since there are so many things that have to be done in order to fit Lowell High at Collie. It looks like we are chiseling a square peg in preparation to push it into a round hole. After attending this morning's building committee meeting, I feel that there are still more debates about eminent domain, Article 97, wetland, cost of the project, and much more. As Councilor Larry and I had spoken a few days ago, we thought
Dominic,
that
you're at 5 minutes. You got to wrap it up.
okay. There are a lot of, I will skip. I would just like to say that, Councilor Elliott, I like your proposal idea to let the voters decide where the high school is going to be in November. I thank you, City Manager, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and everybody for my opportunity to speak tonight. And please considering putting these issues on the ballot in November. Thank you.
Adelaide Shazuzel.
It's okay.
And on deck is Stephen Lannon.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening. Adelaide Sechel from 31 Harvard Street in the Highlands. Most of what I would like to say as a proud lifelong resident of Lowell and recent Lowell High School graduate has already been said by my friends and countless other supporters of efforts to keep Lowell High School where it belongs in the heart of our city. However, I'd like to take a moment to touch on a case study I actually read in my geography class this past semester while I was away at college, which I see is very relevant to the situation. The book is an ethnography on the lives of working class and lower class Egyptians who thrived in a lively urban district of Cairo until their forced relocation. And although Cairo may seem to be a world away from Lowell, the concepts of relocation and gentrification are definitely universal. Cairo's government, which failed to properly represent its ethnically and socioeconomically diverse population, forcibly relocated these people to a region of the city that they did not know and where they did not feel at home. Government officials moved a group of residents out of their neighborhoods for the sake of readying the area, which they deemed as authentic and vibrant for tourists and upper-class Egyptians seeking an exciting urban landscape. For quite a long time afterwards, those who were relocated felt lost and out of place without the connection to their homes they lived in or the ground they walked on in their previous neighborhoods. While reading this book, I couldn't help constantly seeing parallels with what was happening in my hometown. Efforts to move the high school out of downtown, especially efforts involving luxury lofts and apartments, are gentrification in its most blatant form, not unlike what happened in Cairo and left an entire population with a loss of shared identity. In Lowell, a large population of very young, learning people will be moved from a lively and historic and culturally diverse place that they and their families have identified with and felt at home in for generations. They will be relocated to a space that is, for many, far from their homes and families, not only geographically, but also socioeconomically and culturally. In a city like Lowell, we cannot make the same mistake made in Cairo. Downtown Lowell is lively and authentic and diverse because of the people who are there, many of whom are students. By essentially evicting this population, this authenticity and energy will not be maintained because these growing and learning young people are what breathe life into our city. I spent 4 great years at Lowell High, and what I know I will remember most about my experience was a sense of belonging in the center of a city I love, a belonging that I know that I, like most students, would never have felt had I attended a normal suburban high school like the proposed Collie High School location. Yesterday, nearly 200 students gathered at a sit-in, and in doing so, showed that they know the consequences of moving Lowell High. They understand the economic issues that will result, as well as the harmful impact it will have on Lowell's infrastructure and the severe inequality that will accompany changes in transportation. Their activism for and devotion to their school must not be ignored. And for those who likely will say that what happened in Cairo is not relevant to what is happening in Lowell because of the clear geographic and cultural distances between the two cities, I'd like to briefly touch on the situation in Lawrence, Massachusetts, a mill city only a 30-minute drive from Lowell. The urban public high school in Lawrence was relocated to a suburban area not unlike Belvedere, despite arguments of students and residents. This relocation led to even more concrete repercussions than just a loss of belonging. Ultimately, the construction of what was meant to be a state-of-the-art suburban high school bankrupted the city and led to a loss of accreditation, meaning that the value of a diploma from Lawrence High School dropped drastically and potentially injured the academic futures of many hardworking students. Due to the unfair and prejudiced assumption that a school will offer a more wholesome and effective and safe education if it is in a suburban, primarily white neighborhood, these students suffered at the hands of a deeply flawed and biased system, something that we cannot let happen in Lowell. Please keep Lowell High School downtown for the sake of our city's infrastructure and economy, history and culture, but most importantly for our students' futures. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Lannon. On deck, Larry Haber.
Thank you. My name's Stephen Lannon. I operate car dealerships on Rogers Street. And having lived through the Rogers Street upheaval 20-odd years ago, I can't imagine what it's going to be like again. So I'm looking at this from a business perspective, much like my neighbors, the Alexis's. One of my properties would definitely be part of this eminent domain taking. And right now, the traffic on Rogers Street is terrible. I've seen ambulances stopped in the middle of the road because they can't get through in the traffic. And one thing I think everybody better think of is that Rogers Street is a gateway to the hospitals. And from my office, I hear an ambulance probably at least one every half an hour. So that's going to be a consideration for public safety. I'm very concerned about what the effect of the business impact. The impact on the businesses on Rogers Street will be if there is construction there. Having lived through it, it's significant. So I don't know, through the eminent domain process, if there's consideration for a loss of business or not, but I think that you're probably looking at litigation costs as well as the cost of the eminent domain takings. Another thing I don't think anybody's thought of is the tractor trailers that are moving up and down that road. I know they are exiting our property off 720 Rogers Street, taking a left-hand turn to go back to 495. If they're unable to take a left-hand turn, they're going to be forced to take a right-hand turn down Douglas Road, out to Andover Street to get back out to 495. And that's all. Again, mine is strictly self-serving and from a business perspective, and I do pay an awful lot of taxes in town, so I do take a consideration of it. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Larry Haber. And on deck, Ruth Potman. Larry Haber.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm glad to be here. I want to first start with the owner of Milan's for 35 years. This man right here, Sam. Sam's business is very localized. I'm there for lunch and dinners, and he has great food. And you're telling people, the residents of Lowell, well, we can't go there anymore because we want to take it by eminent domain. Some of you folks said, hey, we will not vote on this if we have to take something by eminent domain. Why you got to take his business, Alexis' business, is beyond my knowledge. This is a community, and Mayor, I know tomorrow you're going to look at Hamilton Canal as a business thing. Look at it maybe for a school, I don't know. But this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. The school belongs in downtown. These kids belong in downtown. They have all the resources in downtown. They're out there right now with signs, just holding signs all over the place. They are our future, and they say, let's stay. It's not hard to figure it out. It's not rocket science. This is not a rocket science thing. What this is about is very simple. It's politics. But forget the politics. The students are the ones of the future. They want it to stay in downtown. I'm suggesting for my friend here, Sam, owns Milan's, and for the other businesses down off of Rogers Street, let it stay downtown. Because at the end of the day, you have all the resources there. Oh, hold that sign up right there, that big sign. There's your resources in downtown. I don't have to say them. Those are the resources they won't have in Crowley. So to me, it makes sense. Resources or no resources. And frankly, when I went to school, I had resources like everybody did. We're telling these kids, too bad, take a bus or hang around the neighborhood. Again, for this man here and for many other businesses in the area, keep the school in downtown. But even better, for the kids, keep the school in downtown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ruth Potwin. And on deck, Adam Prill.
Good evening, Mayor Kennedy, members of the City Council, and City Management Team. I'd like to address 3 topics as they relate to the high school project: death, taxes, and politics. I'll begin with death, starting from the perspective of retirement. For 27 years, I lived in Waltham and paid my taxes through rent. I witnessed the rents and home prices increase as neighborhood after neighborhood went through the process of urban renewal or gentrification, including the historic Grover Cronin's department store, which was converted to market rate rentals with stores below. There are many vacancies currently there. But when the time came for my husband and I to plan retirement, we could not find even one modest home that we could afford in the city where we raised our family. Not one. But we did find a lovely home on Douglas Road in Lowell. I fear the gradual death of diversity in Lowell neighborhoods brought about by rising property values, which inevitably will result from the short-term attempt to increase the tax base by replacing valuable learning spaces with luxury living spaces. On to taxes. I am ready and willing to support a new, state-of-the-art, renovated high school, preferably option 3, downtown, with my tax dollars. But I want my tax dollars used wisely, not for a plan that's more than $12 million at minimum more costly with the needed infrastructure, Roger Street eminent domain takings, and the annual busing costs over $3 million. On top of all that, I ask, where are the self-proclaimed fiscal watchdogs in this chamber now? That leads to my last topic, politics. When I am considering a candidate for elected office, my yardstick measures values and vision. How closely does the candidate or incumbent align with the things that I hold most dear? I value equity in access to education, affordable housing, homegrown small business opportunities. I value students that are both seen and heard, learning to engage with adults in real-life settings. Moving the high school to from the downtown essentially makes the students invisible and silent. I value the arts as well as sports. I value historic preservation, learning from history, not reinventing the wheel. That's how to build a strong future. And I value reason, facts, integrity, and accountability. I typically do not choose a candidate based on a single issue. However, the scope of the Lowell High School project encompasses so many interconnected values. Therefore, several councilors who have already publicly declared their vote, now I too will declare that my votes this fall will be determined by the votes cast here this evening. I say this not as a threat of any kind, but as a statement of my values. And be assured that you have not seen the last of my civic involvement when it comes to holding my elected officials accountable. So in closing, I ask once more, who wins and who loses by running the students out of town? Thank you.
Adam Prill. Adam Prill.
Adam Prill.
And on deck is Grace Hovey.
Good evening. My name is Adam Prill, 53 Chatham Streets. What a beautiful night. So this is what democracy is all about. As a father, a business owner, and investor,
I would like to make it short and simple. Our high school should be at Kali Stadium. I thought many times, spoke to many friends, regardless of where I've been, in the gym, at the pharmacy, barbecue at my friend's house. I asked them, what do you want most? Do you want your children to walk to school or bus from high school back home? Which one do you want? They all decided the best option would be busing away from downtown. If you don't believe me, I can walk with you downtown. How do you feel safe when you walk downtown? If you're not feeling safe downtown, why should we risk the safety of our children? I thank you very much, and I hope that Lowell High School should be at Kali Stadium.
Thank you.
We'll go Grace Hovey and then followed by Maureen Hovey.
My name is Grace Hovey. I live at 38 Upham Street. I will be attending Lowell High School in 3 years. Your vote will affect the environment where my classmates and I will learn for the duration of our high school years. I want to go to the high school my father, aunt, grandmother, great-grandfather, and great-grandmother all went. But that isn't the building. That's wherever the counselors decide to hang the sign that says Lowell High School. I want to go to the school in a place that I don't have to worry about construction and being exposed to asbestos. My grandmother, Jane Horan, died because she was exposed to asbestos, and I don't think it's fair to make us take any chances while at school. We are the future of Lowell and deserve the best learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maureen Hovey, followed by Peter Sadi.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Hovey, and I live at 38 Upham Street. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I'm a mother of 2 children who will be directly impacted by your decision today. I want to thank all the counselors for their months of research and the many motions you made in researching both the renovations and the new construction. We have had motions for sidewalks, real estate values, and traffics, to name a few. What we haven't seen is a single motion on how attending a high school during a renovation would impact the students, their test scores, their activities, both clubs and sports. In our quest to get this right, we lost sight of the true purpose of this building. Regardless of the location, the true purpose of this endeavor is to provide a safe, state-of-the-art high school to educate our children. I've watched as the Board of Parks member who went against moving forward the Article 97 replication was called a hero. He was called courageous. Then I watched as the Board of Health's motives were questioned when they tried to get the high school repairs done faster and voted to shut the high school. This action was called incendiary. Again, we've lost sight of what's important. The numerous pages of needed repairs which brought this action by the Board of Health should have never happened. Had the high school been properly maintained, this wouldn't have been an issue. Why didn't we question why there were so many repairs needed? The Board of Health was courageous. I found their actions heroic and beyond reproach. I personally would like to thank them, and I don't have a current student in the high school. You may remember me from when I spoke back in February. I lost my mother to mesothelioma after indirect exposure to asbestos. I explained that my concerns about asbestos exposure were valid and not the scare tactics they were purported to be. I watched as a downtown supporter on City Life said, well, it's not the bad asbestos in the high school. I'm sorry. Is there good asbestos? These types of statements are what give me my distrust. When high arsenic levels were found and needed to be reported, the terms normal and expected were used because they were found near train tracks. I agree, they are normal around train tracks, but I believe we can all agree they are not normal or acceptable to have around any school. Again, we've lost sight of what's important, the health, safety, and education of our children. We need to start advocating for the children, and I mean all of the children, but especially those who would be attending Lowell High School over the next 5 years. I ask the councilors to vote for a new Lowell High School to be built at the Colley site. If we truly focus on what's important, it's the only reasonable choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Sadi, and it's going to be followed by Elma Martinez.
Peter Saati, I live at 311 Pawtucket Boulevard. I just want to talk about a couple of issues relative to the discussion tonight. And I attended a meeting not too long ago in which I heard the term city side and school side arguments. It was very strange to me how that was mentioned at all. I think the central issue when talking about schools is and ought to be only the quality of the education that the students receive at any given institution. So once I heard those terms, I began to only focus on that issue, the quality of the education. I went to Lowell High School. I graduated in '96. Mr. Samaras, you were my headmaster. Mr. Conway, he's here tonight. He was my headmaster, my housemaster. I got a great education there. I wonder how much better the education will be at the proposed Colley site or at the renovated LHS now if we spend $330 million. I'm also very disappointed and a little suspicious that we couldn't come up with another plan that doesn't cost $330 million. They all seem to be the base value that we're starting with. I went to UMass Lowell. I graduated there in 2003. The tuition and fees all in were $4,200 a year. That was 14 years ago. Now it's nearly $16,000. I don't know anyone's income in Lowell, Chelmsford, Drake, or Tingsboro that's gone up 400% in the same period. And I don't think that spending $330 million on a new high school is going to give us a better education. All it's given the students at UMass Lowell are shiny new buildings and a great amount of debt, out of which they'll be digging for decades. We talked a lot about the value of an education, and no one has spoken about the student-teacher ratio. I brought it up at the Lowell Senior Center meeting. There was a few city councilors in attendance. I brought it up again, and I asked if any of these options will improve the student-teacher ratio. No one wanted to comment. There was a school committee member who's in attendance tonight who said that they'll abide by the standards that the state has given us. Well, that's fine, but my goodness, can't we be asking for more for our $330 million than just what the state and the federal guidelines make us? So I wonder about that. I wonder how we lack the creativity to come up with another option that isn't $330 million. Lowell is not a wealthy town. We are not an Andover. We are not a Brookline. I don't know where we get the idea that we can borrow hundreds of millions of dollars and not pay for it. I don't know where we get the idea that we need to focus only on the wealthiest. And I'm sorry, that is what we're doing. Those students and those individuals who have the means and the wherewithal to be represented at these meetings, who have the transportation and can come here and speak and make their voices heard. I'm thrilled that so many LHS students are here. Thrilled that there's activism among the student body. But if we build a site in Colley, it's going to make it more challenging for those students who already are challenged. Missing the bus is the least of their problem. Finding the school in the first place is the challenge so many of these students face. Anyone that says that they'll find a way there, they'll get there. Yes, they will get there, but why do we want to add more on their plate? Historically, Washington, D.C., placed right in the center of the colonies. LHS, right in the center of town. It is not representative if we move the school to Cawley of the student makeup, and it does not compare in any way to what the city looks like. And that is what I think we need to keep in mind. The least among us, the people who are challenged the most, those students who are newest, who have the most challenges, not those who are going to get there anyway. We need to be worried about those children who have the most challenges ahead of them. So I do vote for a downtown LHS, but my goodness, can we all come up with an option that isn't $330 million? Is there not enough creativity among the city council to come up with a plan that is not $330 million? When your roof leaks, do you move?
You're at 5 minutes. You gotta
Thank
wrap
you.
it up.
Thank you.
Thanks. Elmer Martinez.
Going to be followed by Eric Nelson.
Elmer Martinez of 1367 Pawtucket Boulevard. My name is Elmer Martinez, and I go to college in the middle of downtown Boston. This summer, I'm tour guiding 40 hours a week, meeting folks from around the country and the world. Before the tour, I introduce myself and I say, but this tour isn't about me, it's about all of you and why you're here. So, from back to front, just let me know what's your name, where you're from, and your interest of study. I hear things like, I'm from the DC area, I'm from Southern California, I'm from some small town in Washington State, small town in Minnesota, New Jersey, then we all cringe. Hong Kong, New England, and the Boston area. Today, I took the later half of my shift off, walked across the street, took the Green Line to North Station, hopped on the Lowell line, got off at Kennedy Center, and walked straight to this podium. It was an easy, accessible walk. I've done countless times. Being from Pawtucketville, I used to take the bus 25, 30 minutes into downtown for school to get to the library at 6:30 when it opened. UMass Lowell and Citywide Morning Traffic Incorporated. I used to wake up at 5 a.m. to make that happen. I can't imagine making that same effort at 4 a.m. To make the troop across the city to Tewksbury. The same kind of effort I had to put into attend a top 10 college. Being a kid of Afro-Latino descent with no car in the family, the even playing field led me to believe in myself enough to have the audacity to dream of a brighter future for myself. My college campus has been under construction the last 2 years and will be for the next 2. The intersection of Boylston and Tremont is a bigger construction nightmare than Kirk and Father Morissette. We walk under the scaffolding, we cross the street, walk down the cross, back over, go back up the street to get to where we're going. We're currently remodeling a building that's exactly 100 years old without batting an eye because our central location allows all students to live anywhere in the city and take a maximum of 25 minutes to ride public transit into campus, the rich places and the poor places. When people ask me where I'm from, I say Lowell, Massachusetts, because through virtue of location of Lowell High School, I became a resident of downtown. The business owners know my face. I hold open mic events at coffee shops and art galleries, these skills I took with me to Cambridge and professional theaters across the state. I learned it here. I breakdance on these cobblestones. I dance at UTech. I stage-handed at the Summer Music Series since the age of 15. It is irresponsible to tear away culture and art from a community that prides itself on culture and art. Art is the handmaid of human good, Lowell, Massachusetts. You rip that away from us. For luxury condos and unpromised unexplored riches of development, you should be ashamed. While Belvedere is a part of Lowell, Tewksbury is not. I have listened to the youngest voters in our community who will remember your vote and hold you accountable for your poor choice at Cawley with our votes. The culture, pride, and promise of Lowell is built on its diverse history, which is not represented by this 100% white council who would vote to move the school to an 85% white neighborhood. As much as we hate to admit it, there is a racial and gentrificational threat with the Cawley move. I've seen the effects of an education system who caters to upper-class white students at Emerson, the third least economically diverse college in the country. It's caused me depression, self-doubt, shame, As a student whose family makes up the 3% of kids who come to my school that make under $40,000 a year. Don't make that mistake here in Lowell. You will regret it at your ballot box, and we will pay for it with our tax dollars. As a college student whose tuition just went up $4,000 to pay for new buildings I'll never get to use, I don't want to pay for a school that won't service everyone from every background and every ethnicity equally. Let us decide where we spend our money as a community. Send this vote to the ballot box in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Nelson, and Colleen Foley will be next. Eric Nelson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Manager, my name is Eric Nelson. I live at 208 Fairmount Street. I come before you this evening to thank you for your time, your dedication, your patience, and your perseverance throughout this process. I'd like to thank the manager and his team and his administration for the time and effort they've put into this endeavor and the work product that they've produced throughout. I may not have agreed with the methodology or the conclusions of every report, but I appreciate the time and effort that went into producing them under very rigorous time constraints. I'd also like to thank the folks from Perkins, Eastman, and Skanska. They've conducted themselves as professionals throughout the process, and I appreciate their willingness to admit mistakes when they were made, and I'm glad they caught them now instead of a year or two from now when it will be that much more difficult to unwind. So thank you. I'd like to thank the councils for spending all their Tuesday evenings here. It is a thankless job, but it's almost over. In particular, I think it's great to see Mr. Samaras back, and I'm glad he's doing well and on the mend. I'd also like to personally thank Mr. Milanazzo. When my son spoke a couple weeks ago, he sent me a great note. He sent my son a great note with a pin, and I thank you for that. I think you've won a fan, but I have to let you know my 9-year-old did not get a pin. So I think we have a split house. I know a couple weeks ago I shared the Morris Udall quote about, everything has been said, but not by everybody. I should have saved that for tonight because I literally am going to repeat myself. Back in March, I said the city needs a new high school regardless of location. Everyone loses. Everyone. If the city does not have a functioning high school, and it will be the death knell of the city if we do not take advantage of this opportunity. So I want to be clear that the supporters of Citizen Colley Group do not subscribe to a Colley or bus mentality. Moreover, we will not take our ball and go home if the high school remains downtown. We will not file lawsuits if the downtown option is ultimately chosen. We may not send our children to school in a construction zone, which will be heartbreaking, especially in my family. But that will be a personal decision. Many will make based on what they believe is in the best interest of their children after carefully weighing the risks and the benefits. We will not question those who make a different decision. I believe those words in March. I stand by them tonight. Tonight is the real profile and courage vote. So I respectfully ask, I guess before I do that, I'd like to say a couple things that I've just heard. When your roof leaks, you don't necessarily move, and I've had a leaky roof, but there becomes a point of diminishing returns. You shouldn't be canceling volleyball games because of rain in the spring on a Friday evening at the same time you're canceling softball and baseball games. That makes no sense. And I also have to say that the demographics of this high school will not change by moving it 2.5 miles. It is because of the diversity of the city and the school that I want to send my children there. So respectfully, I ask that you vote for option 5. Please, please place our 21st century high school in a 21st century location. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Colleen Foley and Sopan Pin will be next.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, councilors. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Colleen Farley, 248 Douglas Road, Lowell, Mass. I have stacks of papers with all the studies and all of that, and I wanted to write a big, really fancy, wonderful speech. But instead, I'm going to say the things that have been keeping me awake at night, the thoughts that I've been having And they probably sound a little rambly, like they've been keeping me awake at night. One of the things that I've always been proud of as a Lowell High graduate is I've been able to say to people, oh, it was the first public co-educational school in the country. And it was the first to be desegregated, or it never was segregated. Well, I decided to look up a little information about that, and I didn't really find exactly what I was looking for, but I went to old trusty Wikipedia. And this is what Wikipedia says. Lowell High School is a single-campus public high school located in downtown Lowell, Massachusetts. Lowell High's enrollment is over 3,000 students, making it the second largest high school in the state, only behind Brockton, and also one of the largest high schools by enrollment in the country. That's pretty impressive. Lowell was incorporated as a town in 1826, and Lowell High opened shortly after in 1831. One of the earliest homes was a small brick building on Middlesex Street, owned by the Hamilton Manufacturing Company. From their inception, Lowell's public schools were integrated. African-American Caroline Von Conker was a student at Lowell High in 1843, at a time when every public school in Massachusetts and the United States was segregated. In 1840, the high school moved into a new building between Kirk and Ann Street along the Merrimack Canal. Over the next 100 years, the school campus expanded. The oldest extant building replaced the 1840s building in 1893. In 1922, a large new building was built along Kirk Street, and in the 1980s, another building was built on the opposite side of the Merrimack Canal with connecting walkways over the canal. There are now 3 major buildings, with one limited to the Freshman Academy. Current enrollment is over 3,000 students. What a wonderful description of the school that we all love. I imagine the next paragraph could be, in 2017, Lowell City Council took an historic vote to expand Lowell High School through the help of the MSBA. The existing buildings were completely renovated to make them state-of-the-art to meet all educational programs. In addition, a beautiful new building was added, which provided more learning space, green space, and created a true campus feel. Completed in 2021, something like that, the project was one that the entire country has looked to as a shining example of how to best meet the needs of a diverse urban population while providing access to downtown services and staying within budget. I urge you to consider voting for Lowell High School Downtown Option 3. I fear that the next paragraph could be, in 2017, the City Council took an historic vote to relocate the high school to the outskirts of the city. While it was hoped a new building would create a campus feel and provide better education, that was unfortunately not the case. The council had hoped that developers would purchase the former Lowell High buildings and land and build luxury condos to bring in tax revenue. This plan failed, and the buildings remain empty, along with the Hamilton Canal District, many downtown shops, and Farmer Mills. I implore you to not let this paragraph be our Wikipedia future. Please vote for option 3. As I ponder the future tax increase to pay for Lowell High, I can't help but be concerned about the unknowns. Some estimates have taxes going up $200 to $500 per household. Those increases don't include the unknowns associated with building at Colley. The additional cost for that site, $3.2 million for buses, $2 million for sidewalks, several million for Route 38, $3.85 for additional turn signals, costs for replication of fields. And while I fully support a new high school, I am deeply concerned about the much higher costs associated with Colley. Downtown is the financially responsible choice for the city to make. When I think about the increase to my household budget, I wonder where I will make cuts to support the higher taxes. Will it be the money I use to purchase items for the Lowell Wish Project, or that I donate to the Jimmy Fund? Maybe to the Lowell Cancer Walk. Maybe it will be cutting pizza from Milan's or dinners at Good Times. Maybe I won't be able to buy flowers for my property and keep it looking nice. I certainly won't have the extra money for luxury shopping downtown. Those are first world probs, and they would probably be a reality for our budget. But what about the taxpayers that don't have that extra bit to cut? Will they be able to support that cut for higher tax bills? What will they cut? Will it be food, diapers, winter coats, maybe medicine? This can all be avoided with the fiscally responsible choice of Lowell High Downtown Option 3. Thank you. My mother used to say, don't count your chickens before they hatch. A quick Google search of this brought the meaning, you should not assume that what you think will happen will actually happen. It's used mostly in cases where you would brag, plan, or make other deals before the event occurred. It originates from selling chickens based on the eggs before you know how many of those are viable.
Excuse me, you're at 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I just implore you to look around this council at the Lowell High graduates and students, and please vote option 3, the fiscal. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Sopon Pin. Sopon Pin. And after that, it'll be Molly Sheehy. Molly Sheehy.
Sorry, I thought you were waiting for someone else. So I'm Molly Sheehy. I live at 525 High Street. Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, and City Manager Murphy. I'd first like to respond to a couple of speakers tonight. Mr. Flynn, if he's still here, talked about the traffic. And folks have talked about the fact, well, we already have 2 schools in Belvedere. We have the Riley and we have the Sullivan. 500 students each, approximately. Well, putting the high school into Belvedere is like putting 7 of the Riley schools or 7 of the Sullivan schools. When you talk about the number of students and the staff and the vehicles. So think about that, Mr. Flynn, if he's still here. The other person that I'd like to respond to is Tim Blake. Tim, you're a principal, I understand, and you talked about the numbers being down. I have been in education myself, and that is usually cyclical. For example, we have a bubble right now in the middle schools. So pretty soon you're going to see the numbers going up at Lowell High School. The numbers are down at Middlesex Community College because the numbers are down in the high schools and because of the strong economic situation right now. I support option 3 downtown because taking the high school out of its central location is unfair. I looked up the word unfair in the dictionary and I found these synonyms: unjust, biased, discriminatory, unreasonable. There are many reasons why taking the high school out of its current location is unfair, but I would like to focus on 2. First, and most important, it is unfair to the students. Moving the high school to the outskirts of the city is an advantage for a small number of students, but a disadvantage for many more. It is unfair to jeopardize their participation in extracurricular activities. Think about that young man that just spoke, Elmer, living way out on Pawtucket Boulevard. If he wanted to stay after school for a French club meeting or a dance club meeting, and the buses have already gone, how does he get home? Well, someone said he can take the LRTA when it is scheduled. Where does that take him? It takes him to the Kennedy Center. And then he has to wait for a bus to his neighborhood, if he has the money. It is unfair to jeopardize their participation in extracurricular activities. It is unfair to take students away from many of the services that enhance and enrich their academic experience. And it is unfair that their voices have not carried more weight in this debate. And that's kind of not true tonight, because they're here and they're speaking up. Secondly, it is unfair to the citizen taxpayers of Lowell. It is unfair to burden them with an option that the city cannot afford. I watch the city council meetings. I live alone, so I watch the council meetings and I watch the school committee meetings. And I've heard over and over that the city has some fiscal issues. How can we possibly afford the Colley option? That's what keeps coming into my mind as I watch these meetings. It would certainly be unfair to select an option and underfund or not fund at all obligations associated with this option. It is unfair to select an option the city cannot afford, thereby jeopardizing all other needs in the city. The passion in this room tonight is palpable. The city is very divided on this issue. The debate is healthy. It is democracy in action. This should be on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry Colwell, and followed by Jay Mason.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. Welcome everyone here, and I thank you for sharing your thoughts. I wanted to say that this is an epic moment today to choosing where the Lowell High School will be. I want to thank you all for doing your job, for listening to all of us. It has been more than 2 hours being here today, but at the same time, I also want you to stay true to who you are, no matter what people are saying to you. And with that said, I would like to see if you can put this vote into election in November so that our people can have a voice to say where the high school will be. So not only you will make an impact, but our people too will make an impact. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay Mason. It's going to be followed by Shavai Sanon.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Manager, thank you for the opportunity. Jay Mason, 77 Tyler Park. I just wanted to stand up and talk about why I support option 3. It's not because it's a lower cost. It's not because it offers a central location, which I think is important for equity and for cost. It's not because it represents no loss of green space, which we're going to lose if we go to Colley, or the disruption issue, which is not going to be as much a 3 to 4 year construction process as it's going to be a disruption of 50 years. I think the life of the school is what we're being told. So I want to speak relative to my own experience, which is in renovation. I think renovation can bring out the best in an existing site and in the surrounding area. I've been involved in renovation work as an architect for 30 years. I've witnessed hundreds of projects and participated in dozens of successful renovations. I've seen scores of buildings brought back from a large variety of problems and circumstances to become strong examples of contributing structures. Structures that preserve often irreplaceable character and beauty in downtowns and urban cores. Through renovation, we learn to recycle, not to throw away the valued parts of our heritage and our culture. Lowell High has a tradition and a place forever in the core of our city, like the Pollard Library or the Nesmith House. I think Lowell High can be transformed into a beautiful complex that appreciates and honors its past, while accommodating the needs of present-day students and future students as well. Look at UMass Lowell, for example. The university in the past 10 years has renovated some 3 million square feet of real estate while students go to school there and while they maintain a robust program that is continuing to raise the bar for admission and continuing to attract new students at the same time. They've been an engine, an economic engine for this community, and they've been able to do it and add 3 million square feet of renovated and new space to their campus. We were involved in the Allen House in that project about 12 years ago. That was a successful project that brought a building back from the 1850s. And look at this building that we're in tonight. This is an 1880s building, and it may not have the the high-tech air conditioning, perhaps, that we might like on a night like this, but it's working. And this building offers certain attributes and has certain characters and charm that it's very, very difficult to bring this back. And this is kind of the heart and soul of our community. So I just wanted to quickly touch on several examples I'm personally familiar with. In Lowell, we've renovated, as I said, the Allen House, the 10th Street School, the Marston Building, the Gaslight Building, the Cottage on Middle Street, Element Care at the Appleton Block. These buildings, by and large, were essentially vacant for between 10 and 30 years, each and every one of them. Well, four of those 6 were absolutely vacant and out of circulation for that period of time. Only the 10th Street School, only one of those was newer than 100 years old when we renovated them. That school was 80 when it was brought back. So I think, like the current Skanska project at Winchester High, our school can be renovated into a stunning combination of technology and history. And I just wanted to make sure that we don't lose sight of that potential. We can renovate, we can do it at a scale that is going to increase the value of our urban center and bring people back to Lowell and make this the kind of destination city that we've been talking about for the past 10 years. In closing, I want to talk about the Hamilton Canal District, because I do think there's an overreaching of exuberance and optimism about whether we can renovate the 620,000 square foot existing high school building. We brought the Gilmore Trust building down in '96, I believe. That was about 21 years ago. We're just now building the cornerstone of the courthouse, which is an amazing building. It's a terrific project, and I think we should be proud that we've got that as a piece. But it is a building block that's been a generation in coming. 21 years is a long time to wait for economic progress. So, at the same time, we're going to be seeing these courthouses become up for renovation. We're going to have to deal with those. We want to make sure that those are part of our vibrant history. They're part of our future. We've got a lot of things coming at us, and I want us to be very, very deliberate as we possibly can and look at these opportunities. Rather than emptying the current high school site, which is a large complex of 620,000 square feet, without a definite known plan or developer in place, I think we have a chance instead to build a great school right here and build up our downtown, not continue to empty it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chavez Sanon is going to be followed by Maxwell Towers.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm starving, actually, all this weight. My name is Chavi Sinuan, Pawtucketville resident. I'm a Lowell resident by way of a refugee camp from a faraway land. And this camp was set up for folks escaping genocide. My family came here as genocide survivors, and I consider myself a genocide survivor as well. I was raised in Lowell, Massachusetts. I still live in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I work in Lowell, Massachusetts. I am a product of the Lowell public school system, K through 12, actually pre-K through 12. So I'm here tonight because I wanted to share a story, because we're talking a lot about a budget and economic development and also moving the schools. However, I think there's one voice still missing, and it's the voice of a refugee kid who actually went through this school, who actually had to walk through school. So growing up as a refugee kid, my parents had to take multiple work shifts. I don't get to see them as often as I'd like and as I need to. They were busy trying to make enough to put food on the table and a roof over our head. To a kid, I thought, sure, survival is great, but I really need you folks to be here. It really left me feeling terrified, isolated, alone at most of the times, and especially as a young person navigating the new world, namely kindergarten, it was pretty scary. So this is what life was like as a refugee kid who has gone through trauma of war and displacement. The terror that my parents felt, I felt. It doesn't go away just because we are separate people. This is how trauma works. So here, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the physical building does not matter. When you have trauma that you actually have to go through, the physical building do not matter. But here's what I remembered. So actually, I just wanted to mention, we're talking about wanting to send our students and our children to a state-of-the-art building. Let me tell you that I am actually a product of what we call portable classrooms and what you have all referred to as modular classrooms. Grade 2, second grade, also third grade and sixth grade. I was that person who went through that, and I actually survived. So second grade, what I remember in Malloy School, now an alternative school, Malloy School on Smith Street, I walked there. And you know what else? What I remembered, not the building, was my teacher, second grade teacher, Miss Kasha. She noticed my existence. And you know how? Because she caught me not finishing my work. Dead. So she did remind me to finish my work, but in a very caring, kind, and thoughtful way. And as a refugee kid who actually is going through trauma, going through terror, and you know what that is? It's a huge contradiction to all that terror. It is actually what made me feel a little bit safer and more connected to in my environment. It actually made me feel a little less scared in second grade. And throughout my career in Lowell Public School, I can name so many times when teachers make huge positive impacts in my life. And not one time, one moment, I thought, I wish I had a new state-of-the-art building. Because you know what? These teachers are the ones who actually create state-of-the-art education for me. They made a huge difference in my life, in my school experience. In the teacher's attention, praise, thoughtfulness towards me mattered. All of this helped me in my healing process, the trauma that I had gone through. And I also want to make the case, I think you already know what case I'm trying to make here, is that I want to keep our Lowell High School in downtown. It really matters. It was actually the first, when I was in high school, rising senior, I scored my first paid internship. I made almost $1 million is what it felt like, right? Because it was a paid internship for a high school student. I wouldn't have been able to find this internship if I didn't go to a career fair at Middlesex Community College. I walked there, by the way. And the internship is at UMass Lowell, Wanalancet building. I walked there as well. And you know what this internship afforded me? A chance for me to facilitate my first ever meeting in front of all these adults. It's a recipe for youth empowerment. And that's actually what we need more of. Recipes for youth empowerment, not to take that away from them. So while we're thinking and looking at data, while we're looking at economic development, while we're looking at how much money is being spent, there's one thing that we haven't looked at, and I would like to invite you to please consider the whole person, the student, their journey, the barriers that they have gone through, that they've had to overcome to get to where they are. Trauma from war is real. Trauma from violence is real. Vicarious trauma is a real thing. And guess what? Teachers play a significant role in helping the healing process. Please do not take that away from these students who actually need the teachers and the resources. Because as long as teachers are doing what they can, our students will feel empowered. The ones who are going through trauma can heal. And keeping Lowell High School in downtown makes sense. Moving the physical building away also moves away some of the students' resources and their teachers. Some students are already finding it hard to get to school. Some young people's journey to school is not by way of car or bus. You've heard this before. Some by bike and some by foot. You don't know what else they have to carry with them. And I'm not talking about backpacks or books. Traumatic life experience outside of school is what they have to carry with them. Each step they have to take becomes heavier and heavier. It's a burden that they have to carry all on their own.
You're at 5.
Thank you. So here's what I am asking of you today. I'm leaving this note here. Kindness, thoughtfulness, a teacher's resource beats state-of-the-art building. They make state-of-the-art education possible. And this location matters to the people. Please make it accessible, make it fair, give us a chance, these folks who are refugee kids, immigrant kids, ensure that they have equitable access to equitable education. Please put this on the ballot for November. One last thing. Today is World Refugee Day.
Thank you.
Maxwell Towers.
Maxwell Towers.
Going to be followed by Elizabeth Gilrath.
My name is Maxwell Towers. I live at 130 John Street, right here downtown. In preparing for today, I knew that I owed my teachers to address both sides of this argument. But what I found in my research about this debate distressed me. The voices against question number 3, in favor of constructing a new high school at Colley Stadium, overwhelmingly belongs to adults. condemnation of our current high school for unsubstantiated claims that students' health isn't a concern, or what the parents of the internet had to say. When I contemplated the movement for question number 3, in favor of the high school remaining in its beneficial and historical location, a few things came to mind. I thought first about yesterday morning, when I showed up to our rally and saw only young people, passionate about the school that they either attend or had just graduated from. Second, I thought about the arguments, the positive arguments, not spoken by the unqualified about the unproven, but by the endearing voices of those most directly affected by this decision. And finally, I thought of the students, a shining example of what makes our high school unique. They have been a leading force for this downtown voice in this debate, and the reason I am here today. We are passionate, responsible, and mature, all byproducts of going to school here, downtown, where the real world happens every second and is not postponed until after we graduate. This downtown environment creates good heads on poised shoulders, and we are the proof. We are all here today, and obviously will not go unheard, because of what Lowell High has taught us to do, get involved. This opportunity to speak was so enticing and tangible to those of us wanting to be heard, because we weren't just taught about democracy, we experienced it right here downtown. Lowell High School's current location provides a unique experience as a rallying point of all cultures and creeds, and if you move this school to Colley, then you are condemning its students not to a celebration of diversity, but a glorification of the mundane. After all, are we not standing downtown as we speak, as this monumental decision is made? This is the public forum, where experience has no substitute, experience that Lowell High has made available to its students because of so many amenities within walking distance. Over my 4 years, I've debated in these very halls for mock trial, taken ecological samples along the Riverwalk, been immersed in culture by walking no more than a few steps from my school doors, and did all of this alongside the most diverse and unique individuals I have ever and perhaps will ever work with again. And since I know moving the high school would sacrifice all of these incredible opportunities for future Lowell High students, I implore that we do the right thing and keep Lowell High School in downtown. And as the events of the night has unfolded and you have lost the trust of every single Lowell High School student in this building to make this decision, the only option is to put this vote on the ballot in November. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth Gilreath. It's going to be followed by Stephanie Silva.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Elizabeth Gilreath, and I reside at 117 Virginia Avenue in Lowell. This evening, I'm going to speak about 2 issues. One is going to be about special education students. 2 will be about visioning sessions. My information did not come from Google or Wikipedia this evening. I've been involved in this project since 2015. I have attended every school building committee meeting. I have watched every presentation. I've been to every neighborhood meeting, PTO meeting, and school site council meeting. My children attend a school where we have autistic programs for students in K through 8. They have opportunities to intermingle with their peers, and it has been a successful pilot program at the Pine Arts Magnet School. In our district, we expanded to 20 CSA classrooms. That bubble will be coming up, and we will need facilities for those students. In the Downtown Option 3 plan, students will remain in the basement. Students that have disabilities will remain in a 37,000 square foot basement. They will not interact with their peers. In the downtown option, that space will be renovated. This is for differently abled children, as well as children that need special life skills programs. In the Colley option, these children will not be in the basement. There is no academic or instructional space in the basement at Colley Stadium. I find that these students, for their ultimate success, need to mingle with their peers, peers of all abilities. I see it at the Pine. My daughter recently, as an 8th grader, volunteered for field day with the autistic students, and she spoke highly of it. I see them at the book fair. I see them on field trips. I see them in enrichment programs, and the best thing you can say for these students, and the best thing that the teachers say, is that that interaction, when they smile and when they interact with children, they're so successful for the day, and their parents note it as well. So I just want to bring that to the record, that if I will live with whatever site is chosen, I prefer the Colley option because I feel that all students need equal access, and I feel that we have a population of 85 students that do not have access to their peers and will not have access to their peers. I have been told that the MSBA reported that that was unfavorable, and the city's response was that we will get a variance or a waiver to continue that practice. That is unacceptable. The second thing I'd like to speak on quickly are the visioning sessions that develop the guiding principles for whatever high school we decide to choose. These guiding principles are critical, and they follow this process from the beginning to the end, right down to the chairs, the walls, the furniture, the breakout space, and they're critical. They're critical, and at the Colley site, you know, the community space is all in one area and ground level. When I sat through the visioning sessions in the fall, there were about 100 people. They were community members, parents, students, teachers, staff. Every single 4-hour meeting, I sat at a different table to intermingle and listen to what people had to say. And I originally went in thinking, okay, the school's gonna be downtown and the downtown's the site. After the visioning sessions, watching multiple presentations and sitting through multiple meetings and reading 10,000 pages of documents, the only way to serve the future needs of the students, all students, minority students, white students, black students, disabled students, differently abled students, and autistic students, is to build a school at Colley Stadium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie Silva. She's going to be followed by Jackie Doherty.
Sorry. One second. First, I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to talk. I'm Stephanie Silva. I just graduated from Lowell High, class 2017. I live at 767 Century Street. I think Lowell High School should stay in downtown for a few reasons. First, because Lowell High being downtown had a huge impact in my life since everything was close to the school. Secondly, because it was easy access to downtown Lowell. I had the opportunity to be part of an internship with the juvenile court for a year, and that was amazing. That was one of the best experiences of my high school life. Also, it's a walking distance from my house, helping me since my family and I couldn't really afford a car to back to school and home. Every day, I also like to talk and possibly give it to you a petition to be part of the record, which was made by me and some of my friends. Here, we got about 105 signatures, but unfortunately, we were shut down by some teachers. Since there was a lot of judgment and conflict between students and teachers, myself and as a student understand, and I know that a new high school would be nice, but staying in downtown would bring away more advantage than moving to Colley. So I believe that downtown is the right choice, and so I please ask you guys to vote to downtown. Thank you.
Jackie Doherty is going to be followed by Bob Montgomery.
Good evening, Your Honor, and members of the City Council. My name is Jackie Doherty. I live at 77 Tyler Park, and I am a member of the Lowell School Committee. As a member of your school committee, I'm elected to set policy in our schools, oversee the superintendent, and provide the best education possible for our children, all our children. It's a privilege to serve our community in this way, and a responsibility I take very seriously. Let me start with this. We need a new high school. From the beginning, I leaned towards the downtown location because of its proximity to 2/3 of our students and families. But I also kept an open mind to other options, weighing the pros and cons as more information came to light, comparing them with what I felt was the vital benefit of keeping our high school near the most families and students. And I would add many of our most needy at-risk families and students. Like you, I've sat through hours of presentations from the design team, hours of public hearings as members of our community voiced their concerns and preferences, and hours researching the various pitfalls with each option. I stand here tonight to tell you that with all we've learned, the downtown location is still the best option. Not only because it is centrally located and therefore the most equitable to ensure access for all our students and families, but because it celebrates everything that is uniquely Lowell. And you have to admit, being in this room tonight and hearing the passion speeches of our residents and especially our students, we are a great city because of that passion, because we embrace each other and our differences. Now, I know some parents with children of a certain age have been concerned about the renovation disrupting education, and I share that concern. I believe option 3 and close management of the construction process will address those issues, as we have seen done countless times by UMass Lowell as well as other communities. We'll do what's necessary to make sure those students are safe and in a healthy environment and receive the best education possible. I would also remind you, we're talking about a span of 4 years, 5 years, right? When the decision is going to impact us for 50 years, if not more, thousands and thousands of children and families. Some have been concerned about the eminent domain issue with option 3. I'm not a huge fan of eminent domain myself. But as we now know, the Colley site will require numerous land takings as well as significant changes in traffic and coordination with Tewksbury, where the site overlaps city borders, having an impact on that neighborhood, again, for decades and decades. Some folks have mentioned a developer taking over the downtown property. But even a best-case scenario of that dream would not offset the millions of additional costs, lifelong traffic, and disruption to the Belvedere neighborhood. Not to mention busing 2/3 of our students across our city for the next 50 years. No, whether a developer taking over that site is a fantasy or a potential reality, it does not offset the costs, nor does it justify the very real and priceless loss of access to services that a downtown high school provides all our students, especially those most at risk who do not have the resources. Now, I don't doubt that they're resilient. I'm sure they are. But to add more burden to those students, I think is a serious mistake for us to make. We are a proud city with a proud past, and Lowell High School is part of that past. The first integrated high school in the country, the first co-ed public high school, and since 1859, a high school that honors both girls and boys for academic achievement. I'm talking about that wall, the Carney medalists. As a district, we have been making great strides in improving our attendance and dropout rates, as well as our test scores. Again, I'm not talking about your children or your grandchildren or many of the children who come from the families who've spoken already tonight. I'm talking about the children who aren't often represented in this chamber. We need to continue that progress with a beautiful, newly renovated, state-of-the-art high school that is centrally located and meets our academic needs. That will be the best way to ensure the continued success of all our students. And that, my friends, is the best way to ensure our collective continued success, because we are in this boat together. Thank you.
Bob Montgomery, going to be followed by Tom Foley.
Hi, Bob Montgomery, 322 Buttman Road. Good evening, everyone. It's been a long evening already. We've got some time to go still, and you've heard from me before, so I will do my best to be brief. I want to start by calling out one of the councilors who has for some time supported Colley Stadium, Councilor Jim Leary. I disagree fundamentally with most of Jim's conclusions. However, I have to concede that not only has he heard my concerns, my little crusade about pedestrian safety in the past, but he's reached out to me in an earnest effort to brainstorm solutions. Now, we aren't there. My concerns aren't erased, but I can't fault his best efforts and sincere attempt to do what he feels is best for the city. At the end of this, we are going to have to heal, and without these type of conversations, we're never going to get there. Unfortunately, as for the other councilors who support Colley Stadium, I've heard absolutely nothing to mitigate the concerns that I've raised. Then again, I know I'm not alone, as many other concerns, inequitable access, very significant infrastructure costs, destructive eminent domain regarding multiple businesses down Route 38 that our transportation engineer has now cited 4 times, very significant transportation costs, including busing, that we will not have the financial flexibility to ever shed from our budget. These have all gone completely unanswered. Anytime information comes down the pipe that seems to hurt the case for Colley, it goes unanswered, and several councilors seem to ignore it completely. Until recently, it didn't really click as to why. And then I came across this flyer, which I'll share, published